makes a mistake again. He missed a shift. He's going to spin to the inside turn. He's going to take the lead.
Eli Hinton just got used up there in the hairpin.
He's going to pick up a win after a long winless streak and visit victory lane. And the whole field just needs to get himself slowed down, hop these curves, up and over. There's that cannon whether it's at wide. Great restart here for the 2 car, but also for the 48. He crosses him over, down into turn 1, there goes the tail. Here comes the 20 alongside. The 13 car gets turned. He's going to spin in turn 2.
A week ago, the 3WideRacing League's Truck Series headed to Montreal, Canada, but this week, we head across the ocean the other way to the land of the rising sun. Welcome to Twin Ring Motegi in the Oval for tonight's 7th and 8th round in this doubleheader event, beginning in just a few minutes. And Finian, if we know one thing about Motegi, is that it's a really interesting racetrack to race on because one end is much tighter than the other.
Yeah, indeed, and what place than to have an interesting format than an interesting track. We're going to have 2 races here tonight, 77 laps each, 120 miles each, and we're going to be going for equal points for both races, so both are going to count as individual events. A lot of points on the line here for these guys here tonight.
Qualifying underway right now, and Chad Frankenfield was the quickest in practice and currently has the quickest time in qualifying. It looks like he's going to head back out on the racetrack, maybe to just get some laps in, but Finian, some team changes this week. Some drivers switching over to the Ford Mustang. This is the first race since the update for the Cup Series side of things. As we take a look at your qualifying order on the left-hand side of the screen, the cars with times next to them have already taken a lap. The cars without times next have not taken a lap yet. And one of those drivers that's currently gearing up for a lap is Matt Gruenberg, Finian. This number 54 driver has been quick in both series this year, and I expect him to be very, very good tonight in that one sim Ford Mustang.
Yeah, I think a lot of people expect him to do well, although he's currently a little bit low in the charts at the moment. Hopefully he can improve.
Well, he hasn't laid down a time yet. He's gearing up for one right now. A little late to get started. It's a long lap around here, Finian, about 36.5 seconds. Twin 77-lap races tonight. You see Gruenberg come across the start-finish line to start his qualifying effort. And we'll follow on board here as we head down into turns 1 and 2. Finian, the banking here is significant, but it's not really enough to lean on a ton. So there might be multiple grooves to search around with, but where do you think is the quickest line around Motegi?
I think definitely, especially with more downforce these guys, I think the low line is probably the best way to go. Up high, it's kind of tough to pull off, especially considering how wide the corner is and how long it is. So, again, I kind of have to see you guys experimenting with it throughout the race.
Gruenberg comes out of turn 4 to log his first lap. He won't be able to finish his second. So this is going to have to count. Where is it going to put him? A 36.499. It's going to be good enough for, I think, 4th place on the board. Or it didn't even register.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was looking at it, I wasn't sure if I was wrong or not. It looks like he's already used up his 2 laps, and he's just kind of running out there.
He doesn't have a time recorded.
I think both laps were invalidated.
Wow, that's going to be a real interesting one to follow, Finian, tonight, with Gruenberg starting at the rear of the field. 27 drivers took times, so it means he'll be starting at least 28th or worse, which is going to be interesting for one of our multi-time winners in 3-wide action this year to be starting at the tail of the field. Well, Finian, 77 laps, I wouldn't say it's a long race, about 47 minutes per race, but that pace could quickly slow down if we get a bunch of yellows. So what's your strategy if you're starting midfield? How to get yourself to the front in this relatively short 77-lap first half of the night?
Yeah, I think that's the key thing too, because usually we run relatively long races for the Cup Series here, so I think a lot of guys are used to waiting things out, letting the carnage happen, then kind of coming back at the end. You don't have a lot of time because we're running 2 races effectively. We're running one race over the course of 2 races, so you have a lot less time to work with, so you kind of have to be a little bit urgent, but you got to also think a lot of other people are thinking the same way as you, and it's going to be a little bit hectic, so you got to work your way up to the front, but be careful, don't make any stupid decisions because you can easily end your night early. Taking a look again at the track map here, Finian, this is a really intriguing track with turns 1 and 2 being much tighter than turns 3 and 4. It's a 1.5 mile racetrack, but if I just told you that, I don't think you'd understand how tricky this place really is to drive. However, the interesting thing to me, Finian, is that this track is only reported to have 2 turns, which one could argue that all ovals have 2 turns, but
The way NASCAR splits it up is they split it up into 4, and I figured out this reason the other day, is that NASCAR splits ovals into 4 corners so that it's easier for the driver to describe where he needs changes for the race car, because the entry and exit are 2 different, very different areas of physics for the race car as it transitions through the corner. So that's why they split that oval into 4 turns, and honestly, I think quad ovals should be 6, but that's just me. But 2 turns here at Twin Ring Motegi, but again, a 1.5-mile egg-shaped oval, very much like Darlington, but a lot wider and more forgiving in a couple different ways.
I'm actually surprised. I'm looking at it. I never realized all these years that for iRacing that they considered it only 2 turns. I was actually kind of surprised with that.
Yeah, and
because you would think that, because this track was made specifically for IndyCar testing when Honda joined, so that they could test Indy cars, and which run in America, and they have 4 turns. You would think they would use the same formula for numbering the turns, but I guess I'm wrong with that.
Well, you never know. But okay, here's the other interesting thing, Finian. Some other teams have transitioned over to Ford, 30G being one of them, and also the OneSim guys have also transitioned to Ford. They were Ford before, but they're switching over to the Mustang versus the Fusion, because the Fusion was reverted back to the 2018 physics. That only leaves 2 Toyotas in the field, Tate Lytle and Frank Sims. And Finian, we thought we were going to have a very equal field, and we finally had it really close a few weeks ago, but now we're back to having a pretty lopsided field, the Toyota being the unlucky one this time around.
Yeah, no, it's kind of unfortunate to see, but Tate Lytle wearing the Toyota badge, proudly there in 2nd place, one of only 2 in the entire field. So hopefully he can continue to carry that banner out there strong. And we've seen him have some very good runs in recent weeks, and I think he's going to try to continue that.
So Lytle starting on the outside of the front row. He's been to victory lane this year, and Chad Frankenfield in that 15. He's going to start on pole tonight in his Ford Mustang Sealmaster sponsor number 15. And as we roll through turns 3 and 4, again, 77 laps. We're going to run that twice tonight. We're going to have this race and then one right after that is exactly set up the exact same way, as the field of over 28 cars rolls out of turn 4. The 15 of Chad Frankenfield in control. 77 laps in our first doubleheader of the season. Green flag flies, racing at Motegi.
And Frankenfield gets off to a fantastic start into turn 1, and so does David Wilson. He's going to try to take away 2nd place, and will be almost successful in it, but Lytle fighting around the outside.
Lytle trying to maintain that outside lane. We've seen this a lot, Finian, this season. It seems like the place to be is on the inside at the initial start. There's a 77 of Drew Eisenman. These guys, I think, were in Camaros at the beginning of the season, so a change for the Eisentech cars as well. You see Eisenman slip up the racetrack. We've seen a lot of cars understeering here with this package, and it looks like Eisenman is struggling with that here early, as you see Lytle getting back by Wilson, and he'll re-inherit 2nd place as they cross to complete lap number 1.
Yeah, Frankenfield trying to break away from the rest of the pack, trying to gain an early lead here. That's going to be key for him, because it's very hard to catch back up to the leader with this package the way it is, so everyone else kind of settling behind Lytle.
Kyle Hanshaw in number 46 hasn't really been a fantastic season. He started out pretty high up the standings, has been dropping ever since, but there's a 53 a day punt to his outside. This is a battle for 20th. And just up the road, Salmaso in that 4 with, again, 3OG switching over to Ford this week. There's the 14 of Kevin Finn and his Crown Royal Mustang on his outside. Yeah, you see the 14 get that run through the center of the corner. That outside lane looks like it's a bit better of a place to be through turns 1 and 2, but the 4 hanging tough on the inside.
Yeah, I think they're able to really use that run off the corner to try to fight and gain positions. It looks like Kevin Finn's almost just able to clear the floor of Salmaso, but Salmaso just throws it up the inside.
He drove in really deep. You see him slide up the racetrack. Right behind is the 4's teammate, the 5 of Sam Close, following them onto the front straightaway. Now, the pretty long straightaways here, Finian, which means that draft is going to be pretty useful, especially early in the runs when you have a lot of tire on your car.
You definitely saw. You can imagine guys are going to use that to their advantage to gain as many positions as possible, but then it also makes it really hard to try to defend positions behind you.
Ooh, Close slipping and sliding out of turn 2. He had a run on his teammate in the Ford. He slipped up out of the corner, and here comes Chuck Sweeting in a brand new number 26 Mystery Motorsports car. He's currently in 10th after starting in 10th, so he hasn't gone anywhere yet, but hasn't slipped back either, as Frankenfield continues to lead as we approach lap number 5.
Yeah, Close. Salmaso almost took out Kevin Finn coming out the corner. He's being very aggressive, really trying to get around that 14.
Saw the 2 of Richard Hines get really all sorts of sideways out of turn 4. And just up the road, Eisenman putting pressure on Johnny Thomas, who looks like he's having some connectivity issues right now, Finney. And that's certainly a distraction that, ooh, we see the 26. Did he get the wall out of 2? I think he did.
Oh, he got really close to it.
Oh, I see a scrape on my end, but I don't know. I mean, there's some damage. I don't know if that's netcode or not, but right front definitely crinkled on my end here, Finney. How about Josh Adams in the 95? Started this season a little late, but he's been awful good this season. And he's going to have to climb his way up. Didn't qualify very well. Started 19th. He's up 5 spots already.
And speaking of not qualifying well, Matt Gruenberg started in 28th. He's currently up to 21st. So a slow climb for the 54 car.
And working over the back of Kyle Hanshaw as we ride on board the gyro cam here down the back straightaway and off into the turn 3 area. You can see this is a risky place for Gruenberg to be in case there's an accident. Now, this isn't a difficult place to avoid accidents, but Finian, these racetracks that are kind of wider and flatter, if a car spins, it's going to go up the hill. And if you choose the wrong direction, you could run right into them. So you have to keep that in mind when you're trying to avoid wrecks here.
So far, everyone fairly sorted out. Everyone, for the most part, single file, except for a few cars here and there.
Yeah, it's interesting to see this. I mean, we mentioned Fuel has just raced here relatively recently, and they had a pretty competitive race. How about Paul Ross, though, in 4th, looking for 3rd on David Wilson out of turn 4?
Yeah, Wilson, wow. Wilson's car was almost sideways. It was breaking loose, and he's kind of struggling with some handling. I think Ross is trying to take advantage of that. Here he goes to the inside.
And drove in hard off into the corner, and will complete that pass on David Wilson, move himself up into 3rd. Meanwhile, Chad Frankenfield has extended his lead to about 0.6 of a second, but last time through, Tate Lytle was a 10th quicker, and I'm curious to see if Lytle is going to pick up the pace here and get back by Frankenfield. As I think we might have seen the pass for nope, the timing just had an issue there, but Gruenberg is on the move, Finney, in 19th, looking for 18th now in turn 3.
Yeah, this is really unfortunate. I mean, granted, we do have 2 races, so you can try to make up for it in the second race, but still doing a fantastic job here moving up the door. But I imagine he's going to probably want a caution, or quite a few cautions, to kind of so that way he can leap himself up even more with some fresh tires.
David Wilson dropping back to 6th, so it looks like he might have a problem inside that car. He's fallen back 3 spots in just about a lap and a half. But you mentioned the unfortunate circumstances for the 54 not starting up near the front. Well, Finney, we're already past the 10% mark in this race, so this race is flying by lap 9 of 77. So if you ask me, I think you got to be on the move quickly. We might not get a lot of cautions. This could go green all the way to the end, and that's a tall order. Right now, the 54 is scored 7.5 seconds behind the leader. That's difficult to make up all on your own without any help. Salmaso has teammate Sam Close on his bumper as they exit. I think that's turn 2 over here. Again, 3OG's been having a pretty good season, Finney, and a kind of a mix of drivers up at the front. And Salmaso, I remember he was really competitive at Las Vegas and didn't end up winning that race, but Sam Close and Paul Ross was for sure at Daytona. And now Paul Ross is up into 2nd place. He's on the move right now, Finney. He got by Tate Lytle a lap ago.
Yeah, definitely out of that group of guys, I definitely got to say Ross and Close have really been the guys stepping up their game. They've been in the front week in, week out. Not to say the other 2 guys haven't been carrying their weight. Just in general, as you're saying, they've been doing a really good job.
So Ross moves up into 2nd after starting in 4th. And that Wera Wrap number 18 Mustang is trying to track down the leader, but it's been extended out to about a second now. Last time through, the 15 and the 18 both ran 37.4s. To Tate Lytle's 38 flat, and he's under attack now from Johnny Thomas in the 83.
Yeah, I think you're seeing Lytle, he might have pushed his car a little bit too much, and now he's starting to struggle, and Thomas trying to get around him, move himself up into the top 3. Also behind him, too, Eisenman trying to move himself up. He's also closing on the front few guys.
Let's jump back towards the rear of the field. Oh, contact between Frank Sims and the 22 of Race Clark. I was just going back here to check out this RG-Bargy, and Wade Lear slips on through with that slight contact, but that was kind of a scary moment. Let's take a quick look at what led to that, and we're right on board the 75. Actually, these guys were duking and diving all the way down the front straight. And the 22 came over in front of the 75, and Sims just gives him a boot off into the corner. Bit of a love tap there, but no harm, no foul. They'll continue. And Sean Klusterhuis now looking to trade places for 20th. Chad Brown and Jonathan Cogswell back in 25th. They've traded spots as well. Corey Lindsay in the 00. Not a great start for him, Finian. Started in 20th. He's running 24th now, so a slide backwards, an uncharacteristic slide backwards for sure for that 00.
Yeah, I think he's just struggling to find the speed in this car. I've seen a few drivers that are kind of just been struggling and on the way backwards, and a few other drivers just on the way upwards. So I guess it kind of depends. It's a weird track that you don't experience quite often, especially this is not obviously on the NASCAR schedule, being all the way in Japan. So it's kind of an unfamiliar ground for a lot of these drivers.
And Tate Lytle losing another spot to Johnny Thomas, so Lytle's back to 4th. As we work lap number 14, this race is clicking off relatively quickly. Finian, what about pit stops? When do you think you're going to be making one? And, you know, how difficult are green flag stops here? Are they difficult at all?
I think if anything, it's going to be just getting these cars slow down and getting off the banking. That's going to be the trouble spot. But other than that, not really too much of a problem. And I imagine these guys are only going to be making one stop at around lap 30. No, that's not right. Yeah, around lap 38, I believe. I'm doing the math right. 38, 39.
Race Clark in the number 22, and kind of as a logjam behind him. That's Carlos Acosta, Wade Lear, and Frank Sims. You can put Hanshaw Klusterhuis in this as well. Not sure if either the 22s hold him up or if the 24 doesn't have the speed to get around him, but either way, kind of a freight train forming here on the back straightaway.
Yeah, I see Acosta throwing it in the corner, but then just gets the arrow wash off the 22, and he goes up the hill and loses so much time coming off the corner.
That's Wade Lear taking a look to the inside of the 24, not close enough to side draft just yet. While we're watching this, I will put your eye back up on the lead as the gap has slowly been being eaten into. It's a 7/10 gap. It was about a second a couple laps ago as we see a trade for 5th place. Eisenman around David Wilson. And it looks like Kevin Finn's going to go to the outside of the 39 as well.
Fight between Josh Adams and Richard Hines. They're fighting for 12th, and Adams is going to win that fight as quickly as it began.
Richard Hines having a solid run so far in 13th. Caution, and it's Frank Sims in the... Ooh, yes it is. Hard hit for Frank Sims in the 75. Chad Brown just kind of scampers out of the way. There's Tanner Sharp getting on the binders to miss it, but our first caution, lap 17 of 77. With 60 laps to go, and let's see what led to this. Frank Sims, of course, one of the only 2 Toyotas in the field, and he was on the outside of Kyle Hanshaw in turn 4. And what led to this? Oh, he just got loose all on his own, doored the 46 and hard into the concrete. No safer barrier there. Dave Hunt did a great job missing that, too.
Oh, yeah. He really did a great job avoiding it.
Wow. Last minute dodge there for the 53. All right, caution out. We certainly can't make it to the end from here, so what's the call? Are you going to do fuel only? What are the lap time drop-offs looking like, and maybe a 2-tire stop?
I mean, I can definitely see 2 tires. I think you're going to want some sort of tires. These guys lost about a second in the run we had, so I definitely think they're worth it. Whether 2 or 4, I don't know what these guys are going to plan. I think guys in the back are probably going to opt for 2. I think the guys up front are going to take the 4 tires.
So Frankenfield has led every lap of this race so far, Finian, but Paul Ross is beginning to track him down. I know it's early, but what do you think about that 18 versus the 15? Which one of those do you think will prevail at the end of the night?
It depends. I think Paul Ross definitely has a good car under him. Again, it's kind of tough to tell with Frankenfield in the lead. It definitely seems this package has almost always favored the leader. So if Paul Ross can find his way around the 15, I would say he's got a good shot of winning this race, that being the 18.
So David Wilson and Tate Lytle are going to come on down. They'll probably take 4 tires. Both of those guys were dropping through the field. Matt Gruenberg loves this because he gets the field tightened back up, and he'll get another run at him here. He gained a bunch of spots, over 10, since the initial start of the race. The 56 drove through his box, though, Finney, and a bit of a mistake there by Lytle. All right, Paul Ross is out and off a pit lane. It looks like the 15, ooh, that was really close. Did the 18 beat the 15? I don't think so. So Frankenfield wins the race off pit lane. Eisenman up to 3rd, Kevin Finn to 4th. And Gruenberg up to 12th. And that was a 4-tire stop as well. And no one doing only 2. Everyone's got 4 tires. Okay, well now, the fact that Gruenberg is up into 12th place, you have to look at him and say maybe he's a favorite. The way he's been climbing through the field, if he gets another caution later in the race, they'll reset him with the leaders because they're going to get a lead on him now. The question is, can that 54 win? We've seen him capable of winning races. He has won races. I think he'll do it again tonight if he can get himself up inside that top 3.
Yeah, and again, I think what Gruenberg wants, he wants this kind of trend to continue. A short little green flag run, fall back caution, because he can gain more and more time, more and more positions up the order. Because we've seen almost every week that 54 is almost always a factor. Again, he's got put back a lot further back more than usual. But if he's up there, I think we're going to have to take our eyes out the 15, look at that 54. All
right, so 1 to green here. Lights are off on the pace car, and Chad Frankfield is going to choose the outside lane. I don't know about that call, Finney. I would have thought you would want the inside all times on the restarts here.
I think Frankfield's opting for that run off of 2 that these guys get. I think he's trying to defend before the 18 can get to him. We'll see how it pays off for him. It's a little bit of a risk because you're still getting up to speed, so you might not entirely get that run. But we'll see how Frankfield fares at that. But I'm definitely sure Ross is going to take as much of advantage being on the inside as he can.
So all but 1, actually all but 2 of our cars running. It looks like Kyle Hanshaw is still in the pits getting repairs done. The 75 of Frank Sims is 2 laps down, also getting repairs. Everyone else is out on the racetrack, all on the same lap as well. Everyone's on the lead lap, so no lucky dog. We'll get the caution shortened by a lap. And the 18 of Paul Ross will have the inside lane, but he'll be following the 15 of Frankenfield off in the green flag scenario here. And keep an eye on those other 3 OG cars, the 5 of Sam Close and the 4 of Luis Salmaso, kind of lurking in the background. Kevin Finn in the 14 was really competitive at ISM Raceway at the beginning of the season, but didn't win that race. Can he do it here tonight? Caution flag is retracted. Green flag back in the air, racing again on lap number 21.
Yeah, not really a good start for Paul Ross, and it looks like Frankel's going to clear him with ease. So no real fight there. Finn trying to fight with Paul Ross on the outside lane. And he's gaining some time here off of 2, but Ross is going to come up to defend that spot.
And behind, I see another car creeping into the picture. That was at the rear of the field to begin with, the 95 of Josh Adams. He's up to 9th. And he started all the way back in 19th. So he's, we almost got crossed up by the 5 car. Sam Close slides up the racetrack, and here comes that yellow number 54. Gruenberg up the middle, 3 wide, and Gruenberg again started in 28th. He's up 18 spots, looking for a 19th here on the inside of the 83.
Yeah, also Levi Zielinski there has been very quiet so far. Johnny Thomas dropping back a few spots, but he's still trying to regain the spots that he lost.
22 of Race Clark on the outside of the 1 of Dylan Hickey. A new scheme on board that car this week is Chuck Sweeting. He has a great run, but look at the 54 and the, who is that down there? That's the 6 of Levi Zielinski on the inside of the 83. They're 3 wide for a second, but Zielinski can't hold that line. He's going to drift up the racetrack, and the 83 is going to turn hard left and put him 3 wide at the exit of turn 4.
Ooh, Zielinski also gets loose in the middle corner, almost hits the 5 of Sam Close. Close is going to clear him, make it back to 2 wide. And Thomas and Zielinski still racing it out.
Bit of a scramble here in the midfield to see the 1 of Hickey go back to the inside of Race Clark. He'll clear him. And now Richard Hines dives to the inside of Chuck Sweeting, but I don't think he'll have quite a big enough run. And that's Carlos Acosta on the outside of those 2. We saw the 42 of Jaddersis drifting way up at the exit of 2, and now he's got the 3 of Tanner Sharp closing from behind. Ooh, he started back in 30th place. He's up to 23rd. At the beginning of the field, though, Finney, and the 15 and the 18 lined up nose to tail. I think Paul Ross is a touch quicker right now.
Yeah, he lost a little bit of time on that initial start, but has been slowly creeping back into the 15. So Frankenfield should probably get a little bit worried here, because Ross has definitely got some seed. If he makes a mistake, Ross is definitely going to be there to capitalize on it.
Zielinski on the outside now of Johnny Thomas, and behind them, there's a big gaggle with the 2 of Richard Hines, who slipped back under that pit sequence. And now you see the 42 trying to claw his way forward. That's another 1 sim Ford Mustang, new to the Mustang this week. And Jaddersic uncharacteristically off the pace this week. Usually qualifies up near the front, but a 24th starting spot and a 19th running order right now for that 42 machine.
Yeah, he's been one of those guys struggling with finding pace here. He's got a little bit left in this race and a whole another race to try to figure out. So we'll see later on if he can move himself up there. But meanwhile, Grunberg and Josh Adams fighting it out for what I believe is 8th position.
That's correct. So Adams on the outside of the 54 and has a pretty decent run, but it's Camaro versus Mustang. That's the classic muscle car battle on the back straightaway in Japan. Probably not the typical place you think of when you think of Camaros and Mustangs, but Grunberg dives hard to the inside. They're trying to close in on the 4 of Salmaso. But up towards the front of the field as we watch these two battle, I'm watching that gap get smaller and smaller between Frankenfield and Ross. It's less than 0.2 of a second now.
Yeah, he is all the way up in there. The only problem Ross has got to worry about is just worrying about that dirty air being in behind the 15. And he can't wait too long because he definitely wants to try to make this pass while the tires are new.
And it has a bit of the draft as well, so that's going to help you out. But let's jump back to the midfield as there's a big gaggle out of turn 2. It's behind Race Clark and Wade Lear, and that's Richard Hines again, Giadersich and Klusterhuis. They're side-by-side off into turn 3. And just ahead of them, Sam Close on the outside of Sweeting, and Sweeting tucks in behind out of turn 4. Kevin Finn has Drew Eisenman chasing him down for 3rd. Eisenman has had a lot of pace this week in that 77.
Yeah, he's got a really strong car. I haven't really talked a lot about him so much, but he has been running consistently strong, and I mean, hey, he might have a factor in either this race or the next race upcoming. But also, just want to point out, Ford Mustangs 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Well, no surprise there. A lot of teams transitioned over, and most of them were the powerhouse teams, that being 3OG and 1Sim. And speaking of 1Sim, Grunberg up to 8th place, looking for 7th on Salmaso. Now he's caught that number 4 Jaws graphics machine. And Salmaso pushes up out of turn 2. You see him lose that grip. That's going to bring Grunberg even closer. Now just watch the ground he closes in on. Just a couple feet at a time. Off into turn 3, dives in deeper and later. And he's going to get to the inside of the 4 car in turns 3 and 4, and maybe you'll have a run on him on the front straight.
He's going to try to get a run there, but it's so hard to maintain a run on the inside compared to the outside lane. And Salmaso is going to cut him off.
The effect of when a driver pulls out in front of you is immediate. You lose all that grip on the nose, but Salmaso is really struggling with understeer right now. Could not keep that car down on the white line. It's going to give the 54 another opportunity to make a pass in turn 3, and now Grunberg is going to launch off deep into the corner, brake later and harder, and he clears the 4 of Salmaso, moves himself up into 7th. We'll see if Salmaso will try to come back on the outside. Not enough of a run, and Salmaso back to 8th.
Yeah, Salmaso actually almost hit the wall, so he's really pushing that car right now, and you can't really push it too much. And that's why we're seeing Grunberg being able to clear him, and Grunberg's going to claim another spot and continue onwards.
Side by side for 14th place, it's Wade Lear and Dylan Hickey. They're following Sam Close. Now, Close has dropped back since the pit stop, so not really sure what's going on inside that car, but he has fallen into the clutches of Dylan Hickey and Wade Lear as they try to track him down. But for 3rd place as well, a change of position is underway. Kevin Finn and Drew Eisenman side by side.
And I see Dylan Hickey having a good run. Hasn't had the best of runs in this series. Had a nice solid 12th place finish at Phoenix, being his highest of the season so far. So he's going to try to improve on that here as he's currently in 14th. Eisenman's still working over the 14, but he's going to lose that grip through the middle of turn 2. He's sideways out of turn 2. Sideways, yeah. And that's not the first time I've seen Eisenman sideways. I saw him on the first run as well. He was really sideways coming up too, so he's really pushing that car on the inside.
Now that's brought Tate Lytle right back into this fight. Now Lytle was definitely glad to see that caution come out to get some work done on that race car, get some for Mr. Feelgoods on it, but he's now in the clutches of David Wilson. These guys traded spots for, I think, 2nd at the beginning of the race. See Lytle scrape the wall off into the corner. But both these cars wanted that caution to get some work done, and they have done that now, and they move up to 5th and 6th. Tanner Sharp and Dave Hunt, they're trading spots for 21st. And Sharp is also a driver I would have expected to climb through the field earlier. Remember back at Vegas, he was one of the most competitive cars there. We haven't heard a whole lot of this 3 car since then.
Yeah, he's been kind of off the radar since that run. He's back in 17th in the points. You know, other than a 4th and an 8th place, he's been struggling to finish inside the top 20. So the season hasn't really gone his way so far, and it's continuing not to do so. So hopefully we'll see him improve as this race goes on.
Eisenman goes the long way around Kevin Finn in turn 2, completes the pass, and move the 77 up to 3rd.
So up to the front, Ross has closed that gap yet again. And actually, both these cars in general just broken away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, these two are in a league of their own right now, and they're separated by 0.3 of a second. We're closing in on halfway here in this race. Now that we've had a caution earlier, Finian, do you think we're going to go green to the end? Or do you think we're going to get another caution? Where's the Larry Mack trends of the race here?
It's not really many trends. Haven't had many races here. But, I mean, honestly, considering the way these guys were going in the first half, I can definitely see this going green to the end. There was only that little wreck with Frank Sims getting loose. Although I have been seeing quite a few more cars get loose, and more cars are getting loose as this run goes on. So we could see someone spin out, bring out another caution.
That was relatively, I wouldn't call it late in the run. It was lap number 17, so we've gone another 17 laps since then. We're on lap 34 now. But Paul Ross has closed that gap even more. It's 0.2 of a second now off into turn 1.
Yeah, I'm honestly kind of surprised. Thought if Ross wasn't going to get the pass done in the first few laps of the run, I thought he wasn't going to get it done at all. But clearly proved me wrong as Frank feels struggling for grip. His car seems to be fine.
See Frankenfield dive to the inside there to break the draft. Now, once you see the leader doing that, it's like smelling blood in the water, and that's going to open the door for Paul Ross into turn 3. Here he comes for the lead.
Yeah, he's going to throw his car up in there. Can he keep it glued to the inside? I think he might be, because Frankenfield really struggling at the moment.
I think definitely the 15 is struggling. This would be the first pass for the lead under green flag conditions we've seen all night. But Frankenfield has the lead for now, and he's right in front of the 18. Now watch the 18 slip up the racetrack. Couldn't keep it rotated, following the arrow wash of that 15 car. It's a close fight for sure. As we jump back momentarily to mention Matt Grunberg is up to P6, but back to the lead now, side by side again. Paul Ross has this run through 3 and 4, but he just doesn't have the momentum to keep it. But you also have to keep in mind that while they're fighting, Drew Eisenman is tracking them both down. Last time through was a tenth quicker than both.
Yeah, and Ross continuing to try. I think he might try to fancy a run maybe in 1 and 2 rather than in 3 and 4. I just don't think he's going to win it there.
On the back straightaway now, the 15 ducks out of the draft for a moment again. And now look at Paul Ross charging turn 3. He gets all his speed on entry, but loses it on exit. And the 15 running a slightly higher line through 3 and 4, and Ross has to chase it up the hill to keep the grip level.
Now here he is now right in behind him. So we'll see if Ross can get a good enough run to throw to the inside in 1 and 2. I don't think so, not this time.
He's going to try to roll the outside lane. He's going to go above the 15 car in turn 2. But now you see, I think Frankenfield's got the line figured out, but you see him slip up on corner exit. He just doesn't have the tire left in that car to hold it down to the inside. So 2 very different lines. See him break the draft again. I wonder if Ross will try going up a lane here in turns 3 and 4. No, he goes back to the bottom.
Oh, yeah, and actually they're side by side again. So Ross is going to try again on the inside, but I think it's going to go the way the last 2 times. Yep, and Frankenfield gets run off the corner, and Ross is going to have to peel him behind.
I noticed that battle between Lytle and Finn. That's for 4th place.
And here comes Grunberg also into the picture here, so a 3-way battle for 4th.
So Lytle's found some pace late in this run, but can't quite clear the 14 out of turn 2. And side by side for the lead again. Paul Ross gets a taste of that lead, but can't quite clear the 15 just yet. And as they're going to come out of turn 4, ooh, Frankenfield's all sorts of loose. And this is the opportunity Paul Ross needed. But does he have enough of a run? He's still alongside. They're dead even at the line. Paul Ross actually led that lap. And off into the corner, Paul Ross is going to take the lead away. Does he clear the 15? No, he doesn't. The 15 hangs on that quarter panel. And he's going to try one more time out of turn 2. There he goes. He clears him, tries to slide up in front. And he finally gets there, but just barely.
And here comes Frankenfield with another dive. He's going to try to dive to the inside of Ross into 3. He's going to go for it. Ross going to defend on the outside lane.
Now Paul Ross has Frankenfield where he wants him, because this is where Ross struggled to pass before on the inside. So I think Ross has the upper hand now, and he'll clear the 15, and Paul Ross officially your new leader here on lap number 40.
Yeah, great fight there, and I'm curious, what is Paul Ross going to be able to do? We saw Frankenfield, he was struggling on his tires a little bit, so will Ross be able to just drive away?
We'll see. Kevin Finn and Tate Lytle continue to battle for 4th place behind, as Drew Eisen is just up the road.
Yeah, this battle's Drew, and we said Gruenberg earlier. It's also David Wilson. He's lurking in behind Gruenberg, so this battle building more and more cars into it as they go side by side.
Lytle's been trying to hold that car down there, but he loses that mid-corner grip. But no, we see him slip on exit there, and that's going to give Finn another opportunity to defend from the outside lane. But I think the 56 should have him if he launches deep into turn 1. He's going to dive off and turn hard left, and clears him for a moment, but the 14's going to carry more speed. We'll see if this is done just yet. I don't think we're done.
Yeah, I don't think it's done. Don't think it's done either. Finn's gonna try to throw it back up in the inside. I'm kind of curious when Gruenberg's gonna pounce on this. Seems like he's been kind of patient.
He's crept into the fight here as the 14 and 56 are nose to tail out of turn 4. Past halfway, ooh, Finn all sorts of sideways, and that's gonna give the 54 an opportunity.
Yeah, and I guess he was waiting for an opportunity like that, so he's just gonna go around the outside. Not gonna be able to clear Finn just yet. They're going to continue to try to fight back, but I think it's kind of futile as Gruenberg gets going to get a nice run off too.
Yeah,
they seem clear Kevin Finn.
I think
place for 4th.
I think Gruenberg's been very patient tonight, because when he passes cars, it doesn't take him very long at all. But he'll sit behind him for a couple laps just to figure out when and where to pass them, and he doesn't mess around too much. If he gets to your bumper, he's going to get past you. So he moves himself up inside the top 5. Took him 43 laps to go from 28th to 5th, and he's got about 35 to go to get it done.
I gotta say, in general, even if he doesn't win this race, which I think he has a chance, kind of uncertain because Ross and Franklin got really strong cars. A 5th place after starting in 28th and this short of a race. Fantastic job from Gruenberg.
Race Clark on pit lane here, Finney. Is this a scheduled stop? Can you go 35 laps?
I think that's about on schedule, about considering when they pit. So a little shortcutting it just a little bit, but he's definitely trying to do something here, trying to take advantage of those fresher tires. Johnny Thomas has come down. He came down, I think, 5 or 7 laps ago. I wasn't entirely sure. He's all the way back in 26th lap down, first car lap down.
Ross has extended his lead out to about a half a second. Make it 0.7 of a second now as we work lap number 45. Just ahead, that's Tate Lytle ahead of Matt Gruenberg. And there's the 83 of Johnny Thomas, who's currently a lap down. But passing, he's definitely got some more speed. So the question is, we're about 1.5 seconds off of our fastest lap of the race. So the tires are degrading, I wouldn't say significantly, but certainly enough to matter. So if you're Chad Frankenfield, I mean, I think you'd want to come in about 1.5 laps before Paul Ross and make that move.
Yeah, honestly, if anything, I would just be one. If I was Frankenfield, I would try to come to pit road as soon as you can, as soon as your pit window opens up. I think if he can beat that 18 down, the race will fall in his hands. But if they pit at the same time, it's going to be looking more the way of Paul Ross, if anything.
Wade Lear, Acosta, and Tanner Sharp all in pit lane at the same time, so that's probably coordinated there as we see a battle between Finn and Wilson for 6th.
Yeah, Kevin Finn's starting to slip back just a little bit. Wilson, who was slipping back earlier in the race, he's figured something out. He's on his way back up the order.
Frankenfield hits pit road.
Yep.
So now if you're Paul Ross, I think you have to respond relatively quickly. Or you could do the other thing, which you've seen a lot of drivers do, is do the overcut strategy and just stay out really, really long and let the tank run out of fuel and then come to pit road. But I think we've been out here so far for 28 laps, so we still probably have another 5 to 7 laps worth of fuel in these cars. So I think if you're Paul Ross, I think you just take it to the end, don't you?
Yeah, it depends on how he feels on these tires. If he's feeling strong enough, he actually just ran really wide in 4, and he's coming in right now. So he's going to just play it safe. He's going to answer immediately.
Wow, that was close.
Frankenfield.
Drew Eisenman pulled off to head to pit road, and Tate Lytle almost drilled him in the rear bumper, and now it's a battle for the lead as they stay on the racetrack, and here comes Gruenberg around the outside of Tate Lytle, and this 54 car continues to make really, really good time.
Yeah, I don't know what he does compared to everyone else, but his tires almost look like they haven't faded off.
Well, he's not like this only at mile and a half. He's like this at short tracks and at road courses too. I mean, I think road courses probably aren't his immense strength, but we've seen him make time in places that we don't see other drivers making time. And Tate Lytle's going to take this opportunity to peel off and head to pit lane. So where is Paul Ross come out in relation to the 15 of Chad Frankenfield, who's going to be at speed? The 18 is already getting back up to speed. I don't think the 15 strategy is going to work out here.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I'm actually kind of surprised in how much time Frankenfield has lost. So I'm not sure what happened to him.
Oh, he had a 20.3 second pit stop fitting. I'm not sure if that's a penalty. That seems a bit short to be a penalty, but that made the difference there. And he's actually going to be behind Eisenman as well. Oh, but they're both stuck in behind the 95 of Josh Adams, who I think wants to come to pit lane, but couldn't get there that time. Kevin Finn peeled off, as well as the 54 of Grunberg. Only a couple drivers have the pit stop to go. This should turn the lead back over to the 18 of Paul Ross. Actually, Johnny Thomas, I think, is currently ahead of the 18, although I think the 18's charging hard enough and fast enough that he's going to get there first. So 27 laps to go as they cross the line this time through, and now Paul Ross, of course, was the leader by about a second over the 15. Now the 15 car Finney is about 5 seconds back.
Yeah, I'm still trying. I was looking at Frankenfield's pit stop, not entirely sure. It looked fairly normal, so don't know what to tell you.
He dives inside the 39 of David Wilson, who's your leader currently, and here comes Gruenberg out of pit lane, Finney. He made up some time, it looks like.
He's going to be thrown out right behind the guys he was fighting with, although he does have some fresher tires, so we'll see what Gruenberg can do. We've seen him pull some incredible stuff on older tires. I think he'll do much more of the same here as he goes immediately to the outside of Samasso, trying to get around him.
And he'll get that pass complete as we head back to what will be eventually your leader. That's Paul Ross, and looks like he's got about a 5-second lead over Drew Eisenman, who is currently going to be cycled out to second place. Now, this is, of course, not including Johnny Thomas, but we know that he has much older tires, and he's going to get swallowed up here by the 18 pretty quickly.
Yeah, and everyone in the top 8 so far has yet to come down to pit road, but as we speak, more and more drivers are still peeling off to make their, what should be final stop of the race if we go green all the way.
About 16 minutes worth of racing left in this event. As you see, there's the 14 of Kevin Finn. He waited a little while, as did the 54 of Gruenberg, but Gruenberg, of course, making up some of the quickest laps on track at the moment. And Josh Adams, he's all sorts of squirrely out of turn 4. That's the 22 of Race Clark, who is a lap down currently to the 95.
Ooh, Frankenfield almost got a piece of the wall off of turn 2, and Lytle goes to his inside.
Yo, that was really close, and yeah, we just saw a replay there. Lytle did dive to the inside to miss that 15, and he might end up getting a spot away, and he will out of turn 4. So a bit of green flag pit stops have kind of changed up the strategy here a little bit, and for the 83 of Johnny Thomas, he's just hoping for a yellow at this point to make the strategy work. He's also been having some internet connectivity issues, Finney, and that's really not helpful to him or the people around him. I think the little puffs of smoke are probably breaking everyone's hearts every time. The guys that want cautions, every time the smoke dissipates, are going, oh man, wanted the yellow flag there.
Ooh, Frankenfield fighting very closely with Lytle to his quarter panel. Still trying to get that spot back, but as you see, you guys are fighting that yellow 54, closing up more and more, trying to take back what would be 4th and 3rd place once this all cycles out.
Yeah, if he gets into 3rd and a caution comes out, that 54 is going to be a really hard one to beat. And again, this has just been a phenomenal race for Gruenberg, just being very patient and slowly, methodically working his way through. Hasn't forced the issue at all tonight. Lytle's a bit sideways. And he looks like he'll maintain that, what will eventually cycle out to be 3rd spot over Frankenfield.
Oh, look at Levi Zielinski. He's in an incredible fight. 3 wide for these guys.
Oh, boy. 3 wide on the front straightaway. That's Wade Lear, that's Dylan Hickey, Levi Zielinski, David Wilson, and the 42 of Giadricic.
Oh, Lear really loose in turn 1. He's going to get it pulled to the inside. Almost broke loose.
That 39 car is not fighting them for position. He is the leader as he gets into the wall out of turn 2. See him bounce off it. Now the 42 is going to head to the inside of Zielinski off into turn 3. He's going to launch it down in there, but Zielinski's going to have a run on the outside lane, and he should be able to get right back around the 42, but not quite. Giadricic puts up a pretty good fight here.
Ooh, Zielinski gets loose trying to put the power down, and he's going to give that spot to the 42, and here comes Lear now with a big run.
The 11 with the run to the inside of the 6. You see how much momentum that took away from the 6, and with the reduced power levels this season, you don't really have the ability to rebound from slip-ups like that. But Zielinski's going to take the outside lane back around the 11, but I think Wade Lear might have a run off into turn 3 if he can stay alongside. Won't be able to do that. Corey Lindsay down to pit lane for his stop. With about 20 laps to go, David Wilson stays on the racetrack, Finian. Salmaso, Adams, Dave Hunt, Cogswell, Lafferty still yet to pit.
I'm honestly kind of surprised they haven't come down yet. I think they're waiting for a caution, but again, considering the way this race has gone, I would have banked on one not coming out.
And maybe they're hoping for someone to mess up the pit sequence. Salmaso under attack from the 24 of Carlos Acosta, who has currently scored a lap down in 21st. Acosta, another one of those drivers that started off the season relatively strong and just hasn't had good runs since then. That Rooster Teeth Camaro in 21st right now. He'll cycle out to be a bit higher than that, but certainly not his night either.
Yeah, Acosta only 2 top 10 finishes this season.
Paul Ross working over Richard Lafferty. This is a pass for position, but Lafferty still has to make a pit stop. So my thing here, Finney, with less than 20 to go, there's not really enough race left to pull an overcut. I mean, you're not going to get enough time to make all this time back up. So they are definitely hoping for a caution. I think it's less and less likely to get it because they're the only ones that have left to pit. You see the 95 ditching the strategy. He'll come down to pit lane.
Yeah, so Ross now, he's up into 4th on the track. He'll again cycle to be the leader as soon as Cogswell, Salmaso, and Wilson come to pit road. And as they say that, Wilson down on the pits.
And Salmaso is going to stay out on the racetrack. Cogswell is currently scored in 3rd. I think we'll probably see him this time or next time. And here he comes to pit lane. And take a look, 41 laps done by Salmaso and Cogswell. So that's about how long it's possible to run. At least I think we could probably go at least another lap, but Salmaso's still out there. He gets passed by Tanner Sharp, who scored in 22nd. And leader Salmaso, we expect to see him. And here he comes down to pit lane. This will turn the lead back over to Paul Ross after a very lengthy pit stop sequence. Now we have, this time through, 17 laps to go. And Paul Ross, who's been in control of this one lately, has a pretty enormous lead. I'd give it about 4 seconds over the driver that will cycle out to be second. That's Drew Eisenman in the 77.
Yeah, and really, Ross doesn't have much to worry about. I mean, he can kind of just relax. And it doesn't really push the car beyond what it's capable of because he's got a pretty solid lead against most of his competitors, especially that 15 and the 54. Eisenman hasn't really shown to be much of a threat, although he's having a pretty good race.
With 17 to go, I think it's a pretty good time for a SimTV Sound Surge. And with 15 laps to go, we're going to jump to break momentarily. We'll be right back for the conclusion of the first of 2 races tonight at Twin Ring Motegi for the 3WideRacing Cup Series. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Sim TV here with 12 laps to go. Second place battle is on between Eisenman and Tate Lytle, Finian. It's getting down to it, and you see Lytle go to the inside, and it's Eisenman who's been here. It's Tate Lytle that wants it.
Yeah, I mean, they're fighting it out here in the closing stage of the races, and both of them sideways off of turn 4. Ooh, Eisenman a little bit more so, and both these guys neck and neck, but that yellow car behind them is closing in.
I don't think we're going to have a caution at this point in the race. We've only had one so far back at lap 17. We're on lap 67 now, but Lytle completes that pass for second place. This has been a good race for him. Gruenberg, though, started 28th. He's up to 4th. I don't think it'll be a victory in race 1 tonight, but he'll set himself up for race 2 very, very nicely. Paul Ross, meanwhile, is 3.6 seconds up the road. He's been in control of this race ever since just before the halfway point when the 15 of Chad Frankenfield lost the lead to him. 15th, Kloosterhuis and Wilson. This will be a quick pass here as the 39 is on much fresher tires than the 94 as we get the 10 to go.
Also, just want to point our eyes at the 42, Kevin Giadricic. You're talking about how he was struggling early in the race. How about him? He's currently running in 9th.
Yeah, didn't really qualify very well. Started 24th. He did put a time in. But again, Kevin's known for being a very quick driver, and especially in the 3-Wide Driver Development Series at the beginning of the season in the Xfinity cars, was very, very fast, competed regularly for wins, was also pretty quick at the beginning of the season, fell off for a few weeks, but running 9th right now, not too bad, and race 2, probably be even quicker. 5th place, Chad Frankenfield and Kevin Finn. Now, Frankenfield's penalty, or whatever slowed him down there, has really cost him. He led the entire first part of this race. He slipped to 5th now, and Kevin Finn is coming. And so a couple seconds back to anybody else, but that 14 car could get 5th place away. Yeah,
and really ever since Frankenfield got overtaken and the pit stop sequence happened, he's just not been able to regain any spots. He's just been dropping back further and further and is now under attack, as you're saying, from the 14.
He runs such a different line than everybody else. It's so interesting to watch, but you know, another interesting thing to watch is the battle going on for 3rd place. It's Eisenman under attack from Gruenberg. Gruenberg is going to end up with a podium here if he keeps doing what he's doing. Again, after starting 28th, this is just a miraculous climb forward, but he's denied that time through Eisenman, chops his nose off, and Gruenberg is just able to keep it so low on corner exit. He doesn't let the car drift as wide as everybody else, and I think it's saving him time because this track is so wide. You take the short way around, you're going to be going faster.
Yeah, indeed, and there you see Gruenberg chuck it up the inside. Eisenman trying to get him on the outside. He's going to continue to push off of 4, but is going to run wide, and I think Gruenberg's going to get him here.
It should just take one more launch, and there it is. The 54 takes over 3rd place now with 7 laps to go. The lead has come down quite a bit, Finney, and Paul Ross and Tate Lytle. The difference between their laps, 0. They pitted on the... Actually, that's definitely not correct. What, can you tell me when the last time they pitted? 18 and the 56?
Okay, so Ross last pitted on lap 48 for Lytle 49.
So it's only a 1 lap difference, but last time through, Ross was almost a second slower than Tate Lytle. Tate's reeled him in quickly. It's only a 2.1 second gap, so we're certainly not done yet. across the line this time. Ross is going to run a 38.0 to Tate Lytle's 37.6. So Lytle has found some pace here and at a good time, 6 to go.
Yeah, actually, Ross's last time was extraordinarily slow. I'm not sure why. I think he caught the lap car of Dave Hunt. That's slowing him down a little bit.
But even last time through, he was still 4/10 off at Tate Lytle's speed, and now it's 1.8 as they come off of turn 2. This 56 is catching the 18, Finian. You can almost see it. How much he's getting. Oh, he's shifting. The 56 is shifting.
Ah.
And Paul Ross is getting reeled in. 1.4 seconds, 5 to go. And again, a 6/10 of a second difference between the lap times. And that is going to mean that the 56 will get to the 18 before this race is over. We're not done yet, folks.
Yeah, not sure what really was with Ross, but it's almost like his car flipped the switch to being pretty good to pretty bad.
Yeah, he's actually the slowest car on the racetrack right now, other than Race Clark in 16th, the 5 of Sam Close, and the 24 of Acosta, but they're way back in the field. Paul Ross is one of the slowest cars on the racetrack, one of only 3 or 4 running over 38-second lap times. Tate Lytle is one of the quickest right now, 37.5 again last time through. Let's see this time. Ooh, they were dead even that time through, and it's stopped at 1.3 seconds.
Yeah, it looks like Ross is starting to pick the pace back up again to where he was running before this kind of started happening.
What happened, though? Was there a distraction for the 18, I imagine? But no,
I have no clue.
It's down to 1 second, though, out of turn 2.
Yeah, he's playing a dangerous game, though. He's allowing Lytle to really start to reel him in. And he's got 2 lap cars up ahead, and he needs to clear and make sure he doesn't catch them in the bad part of the track.
And Matt Grunberg, he's a second behind Tate Lytle, so those two have any fiddling around. That 54 car could steal a victory here in the late going, so not sure what's up with the 18. That time through a 37.7 to a 37.5, so 2/10 better. At that rate, the 56 won't get there, but he's certainly going to get close enough to make this exciting.
Yeah, didn't really think. I'm actually kind of surprised. I thought, honestly, Ross was just going to drive off into the sunset, but Lytle trying to show otherwise. Ooh, he almost hits the wall off the 2. He's really pushing
Well, there's some lap traffic now. The gap is down to 9/10 of a second. We're going to be coming to 2 laps to go, about 80 seconds worth of racing, but some lap cars in front. It's going to be a scary moment. I think that's the 91 of Derbyshire in that Mustang, and then it's Dave Hunt just up the road. So 2 laps to go. The gap still about 1 second, a 37.8 to a 37.7. So Lytle's plateaued. Gruenberg closing in on the 56, though.
Yeah, I don't know. Paul Ross, if he can continue at decent pace, he shouldn't have to worry about the 56, although he has to make sure that this doesn't make a mistake as the pressure is mounting.
He really wants to hope that these lap cars are not going to be a factor in his way here. So Derbyshire in front of him might cost him loss of downforce on the 18. Lytle gains a bit more through 3 and 4, but he's going to have to get almost a half a second. I don't think he's got enough time to get there, but we're not done yet. White flag is in the air one more time for the first race of the night at Twin Ring Motegi. He clears the 91. Now Lytle's got to get that done as well. So 1.5 more miles for the leader, Paul Ross. He's led the majority of this last half of the race. It's going to be a lot smaller gap than we thought it was. But out of turn 2, for the 18 of Paul Ross, it's been a pretty decent season so far. And he's got another half of tonight to maximize his points. And it was a scary moment, Tate Lytle reeling him in the closing laps of this one, but out of turn 4, the 18 of Paul Ross in his 3OG Mustang, he's going to go to victory lane in the first race of tonight at Motegi, and Tate Lytle 0.6 of a second behind, just a couple laps too short. Gruenberg pulls a top 3. Eisenman and Chad Frankenfield round out your top 5.
Yeah, solid run by everyone. Great job by Paul Ross there. I would imagine that if this race was 5-10 laps more, giving a little bit of a
Zielinski in the fence at the straight of the start-finish line.
Yeah, not sure what caused that.
Oh, was there more retaliation there with the 22 of Race Clark? Not sure, but we'll have to go back and take a look. Here's out of turn 4. All loose, all on his own.
Ooh.
And smacked the concrete. And he's pulling down to the left here. Then you'll see the 22 swing to the inside and drills the 6 car in the door. Not sure what that was all about.
I think that was just a miscommunication there.
Could
I hope so.
Could have been, but Paul Ross, no miscommunication here. He's going to do a burnout at the start-finish line. And that wear wrap number 18 He's going to go to victory lane. So the 3OG cars just switched over to Mustang. It was a pretty decent race for the 18, but for the 4 and the 5 Finian, Salmaso finishes 11th. The 5SN closed all the way down in 22nd. And the 88 of Rusty Webb didn't take the green flag.
Yeah, actually kind of surprised by that.
This is the first of 2 races this evening, so in just a moment we're going to jump to break. And we'll be back with race number 2 in just a few minutes. We'll talk to everybody at the end of the race, so in case the same guy wins both races, it won't be any redundancy. So we'll see you in just a couple minutes. Stay put. We'll be back in just a few. To most, driving is just a mundane task between point A and point B. Nothing more. It's the frustration of traffic at 8 a.m. The feeling of sickness on a long ride. The car? Just a tool. It's supposed to be practical, reliable, and fast. But the speed is really the reason cars exist. Born out of a necessity to make that A to B trip just a little bit faster. Some have a deeper connection with cars, found somewhere in the bond of man and machine, a desire to be part of something bigger than yourself. It's the extension of mind and body to something more exciting than just another appliance. And these people never cared about practicality or reliability. To them, the only thing that matters is speed. We're born with a competitive nature, part of a biological necessity that has not yet worn off with time. People have raced for thousands of years, and that competition has transcended history and found its way to the industrial age. Railroads raced to build across the country, replacing the horses whose strength is still used as a benchmark for power today. And as personal vehicles became popular, the railroads died off. What once was the quickest way across the country became snail's pace in comparison. The interstate highway system expanded and cars populated every driveway. And the competition between types of transport quickly transitioned into the race to have the fastest car. Bragging rights. Manufacturers like Porsche, Ferrari, and BMW emerged in auto racing, each trying to one-up the other. Building engines became an arms race. Who could build the fastest dinosaur-powered legs? So while the passion for cars has died for most, there are still people that are fascinated by racing. The sights, the sounds, the smell of burning rubber and spent race fuel lingering in the air, this is what attracts us to the sport of auto racing. We are empowered by drivers that climb in impossibly fast cars and put everything on the line for the sake of competition. Drivers who know that one slip-up can lead to disaster. And for the longest time, wishing to be a race car driver was just a childhood dream. All we could ever be was a spectator. Opportunities? Limited and expensive. Reserved only for the who's who of the racing world. Until now.
Eli Hinton back to the bottom, 6 to go.
Makes a mistake again. He missed a shift. He's going to spin to the inside turn. He's going to take the lead.
Eli Hinton just got used up there in the hairpin.
He's going to pick up a win after a long winless streak and visit victory lane. And the whole field just needs to get himself slowed down, hop these curves, up and over. There's that cannon running a tad wide. Great restart here for the 2 car, but also for the 48. He crosses him over, down into turn 1, there nose to tail. Here comes the 20 alongside. The 13 car gets turned. He's going to spin in turn 2.
Under 15 minutes ago, we had our first of 2 rounds in this 3-wide RaceKings Cup Series doubleheader here at Motegi, and Paul Ross came out victorious in his number 18 3OG Racing Mustang. We're going to go again and do it all over again for another 77 laps. Finian, in race number 1, we only had 1 caution on lap number 17, clean and green with green flag pit stops from there on out. Expectations for race number 2?
I think more of the same. These guys ran a very clean race. If anything, I might even expect this race to go green all the way to the end. Only had a caution due to self spin, with only another car getting involved. And that was very clean racing from all these guys. So I expect to see more of the same. I also expect to see Grunberg up at the front of the field. He gets a solid time in. He's going to start at least 3rd as it stands.
So Grunberg comes across the line 35.311, and it's going to put him in 3rd place, as you mentioned, and it's much better than he started for race number 1. He started in 28th and ended up finishing 3rd. So I think this 54 is certainly one to watch. But Frankenfield again with the initial pace in qualifying, but does he have the speed this time and the awareness to not make the same mistake he made the first time? And do you think the 15 can go to victory lane?
I definitely think he can, although again, it's kind of, you got Matt Grunberg there starting in 3rd, so you kind of and Ross actually down in 12th at the moment. I'm trying to see if he's completing his next lap, if he can improve. Otherwise, he's going to have some work to do to try to win both these races.
All right.
And he will not improve, so he's going to be starting 13th as it stands. Still more guys qualifying to round out this field.
All right, just restarting my ticker software here so that we get all the names on. Cluesters is still not showing up, so and apologies. When we have these quick back-to-back sessions, sometimes people's names don't show up, so that's on us there. But Tanner Sharp comes across the line for his lap. Finian, a 35.611. Does not improve on his 35.403. He remains 14th. And we see Tight Lidle's watching and said, sorry if you're trying to interview. We were not trying to interview. We're going to do all the interviews post-race number 2 so that we don't get any duplicates and talk to too many people too many times. But Frankenfield again sitting on pole. Grunberg out, just making laps at the moment. Johnny Thomas played some strategy Finian. I don't remember where he finished, but he was inside the top 10. He wasn't running there prior to the pit stop, so made a good call there. As you see Jordan McKeevoy now in his number 21. I don't remember seeing him in race 1. Not sure if he was just being quiet or if he didn't make the race.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing him either. So I don't think he was there, but I could be remembering that wrong.
He runs high in 3 and 4, but gearing up for a qualifying effort. Then the only cars left to make a lap would be Race Clark and Chuck Sweeting. I expected a bit more out of Chuck Sweeting, considering he's really skilled at places like Michigan. But this track apparently doesn't suit him too well, because I thought he'd be running inside the top 5, but didn't end up running quite that high.
It also seems like we're missing a few drivers. We only got 26 in here by my count.
Yeah, we definitely are missing some drivers, and we'll see if they make it in here late, but they only have another minute or so to get in. And I think we're going to be missing quite a few, so I'm not sure what the reasoning behind that is.
Yeah, I definitely know that we're missing Frank Sims. I don't know who else we're missing.
We're 56 to Tate Lytle, who finished 2nd in race 1, qualified 10th in that number 56. So a bit more variety in the qualifying times, which is interesting to me. Finney and Kevin Finn did better this time, so did Grunberg. Richard Hines, 4th place in his number 2.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing a lot of people, they were able to use the last race almost as a practice session and help improve their times this time around. And we're seeing a lot more guys do better than the guys who ran in the last race. So this should be interesting here as everyone gets reset with their equipment and get ready to go on another 77 laps.
All right, these races take about 45 minutes from the drop of the green flag. So if you're just joining us now, this is the second race of tonight. We had one earlier, and it only had one caution at lap number 17. And it went clean and green from there. So we're going to re-rack him, restack him, try again. And, of course, the 15 of Chad Frankenfield pole for both times. And, unfortunately, they don't give you the points for pole. But Frankenfield will be capitalizing on that. He's been very, very good in qualifying, but just has slipped backwards throughout the race and didn't have the pace to compete with the 18, the 54, and the 56. Let's take a look at our starting lineup for this race this evening. For race number 2, Frankenfield and his Ford Mustang on the inside of the front row. Kevin Finn and his Ford Mustang on the outside of the front row. It's actually, I believe, it's the top 6 cars are all Mustangs, Finn, if I have my my order correct. Actually, who's starting in P7? Or P5, rather.
That's Salmaso.
So also Ford. So the top 6 are all Fords, actually. 6 of our top 7, and majority of our top 10. Derbyshire with a good effort, qualifying 6th in that number 91.
Yeah, and with Frank Sims not showing up, Lytle the only Toyota, and I mean, he did a great job finishing 2nd in the last race, so he's going to be carrying the sole effort for Japan here. It's kind of ironic that the race at Japan would have the least amount of Toyotas.
Yeah, I just thought of that now, and that is kind of a shame, actually, if you think about it. But again, it's always a balancing act in every league to get a good arrangement of cars, and 3-wide was the closest to having an equal distribution as you're going to get. But of course, things have changed with the Ford Mustang coming online this week, and I was very critical of how this car looked when it first came out, but they seem to have adjusted those god-awful headlights that they had on the prototype, and it's a much more sleek-looking, much better-looking race car now. You see the 15 car Finian choosing the outside lane for the start.
Yeah, it worked for him the last few times he chose that line, so I think he's not going to change that. He's going to continue with this choice, so Kevin Finn is going to be starting on the inside.
Corey Lindsay, not really a Motegi fan, Finian, didn't have a fantastic first race and is starting relatively deep in the field for race number 2, as well as Tanner Sharp. So the Blurry Motorsports car is really not, and including Klooster, who's really not having the best night at this racetrack here. But you know who is having a good night is Matt Grunberg. So after starting 28th, he's going to get to start 3rd for this one on the inside behind Kevin Finn and that other Ford Mustang. But the 15 of Chad Frankenfield, he's going to take them down. And green flag flies, and we're racing for race 2 here at Twin Ring Motegi.
Yeah, Frankville with a great jump. Also with Richard Hines with a great jump. Here comes Grunberg on the outside of Kevin Finn. And they're almost 3 wide heading off into turn 1.
Still all scattering around, but so far so good. Let's jump back up. How about Hines with a spectacular run on the outside of Kevin Finn? He'll have a look at 2nd place on the backstretch, but here comes Grunberg inside, 3 wide on lap number 1.
Yeah, guys are not playing out. They're trying to make up as many spots as possible.
Oh, the 83 Thomas is all sorts of sideways. He held onto it, though, but a big gaggle of cars in 3 and 4 Finian. And you see the 14 slip up the racetrack. Hines and Grunberg going to be fighting for 2nd place, but it's just a hornet's nest behind him.
Yeah, and also the key thing, too, is to make sure you don't lose momentum. It's so key here, and if you try to make a dive bomb, you're going to lose a lot of that momentum. There's CB Grunberg to the inside of Kevin Finn, also trying to get to the inside of Richard Hines.
Tate Lytle in the middle of this all, and you see in the background there, that's Derbyshire, who started in 6th. He's back to 12th, so going backwards very early here in that number 91 machine. Salmaso in the middle of a gaggle up here as well. There's the 54 and the 14 fighting. But look how tight this group is back here with the 56. I'm going to do a little paint scheme refresh. This isn't super professional, but I didn't really get an opportunity to do it. So, see white cars here for a moment, but let's jump back out to Frankenfield, who's leading this race, Finian, by about a 2nd and 2/10 over Grunberg, Richard Hines. And there is the 1 car of Dylan Hickey running in 8th right now. Ooh, he's sideways out of turn 2.
Yeah, and if someone makes a mistake here, a lot of cars are going to be taken out. There's so many guys in this leading group here that are still trying to sort themselves out. Sam Close dives into the inside of the corner, almost hits Dylan Hickey.
Oh, that was really tight there for a moment. Now our paint schemes are getting there.
And these guys are playing with fire right now.
3 wide on the front straightaway. There's the last race winner, Paul Ross. Didn't get a great qualifying effort here, but charging his way forward inside 3 wide with his teammate. Sam Close, he'll get 2 spots in 1 corner just up the road. There's Tate Lytle in the 4 of Salmaso. These guys fought a little bit earlier tonight, but Salmaso, whoa, gets chopped off by the 83.
Yeah, it's also going to go back again to the inside of Johnny Thomas, trying to make up some spots.
The aggression level is certainly picked up in race 2, that's for sure. How about, nope, that's not what I wanted to do. The 24, Carlos Acosta, middle 3 wide for a moment, but that's the 95 of Josh Adams working the outside lane there. I right-clicked, and it gives you camera options, and I clicked the left front suspension, which is floating in midair, if you're wondering what I screwed up there, Finger. Always professional here at SimTV. Oh, Dylan Hickey way low on the back straightaway, either breaking the draft or trying to get underneath close. And there's Derbyshire trying to claw his way back forward after losing 6 spots early. I worry with this high aggression level, we're going to see a big incident here shortly.
I'm surprised we haven't seen a wreck earlier with how these guys are driving, but some great racecraft from a lot of these guys being able to keep it off one another. And Levi Zielinski also looks like he's found some new life, was struggling in the first race, and here he's in race number 2 in a different car also, in a Chevy Camaro this time around.
Oh, that's why his paint scheme isn't showing up. I was wondering why. I reloaded because his scheme wasn't showing, and it was because his is a Ford Mustang, so I don't know if that was a mistake on his part. I think it had to be. So, unfortunately for him, that means his paint scheme's not going to show up. But battle in front of them, Salmaso and Hines. How about Hines in the number 2 car running 5th right now? He's under attack from Lytle, but this is a good run for that 2 car so far.
Yeah, he's having a great run. Definitely showing a lot more speed. He had some decent speed in the last race as well, but really kicked it up into high gear this race around. Also, Lytle back on the inside, trying to fight back some spots he lost in the initial start.
So early in this one, 7 laps complete of 77, and it's Frankenfield with a 1.3 second lead. Carlos Acosta, Klooster, who they were side by side for a moment. Derbyshire back to 15. This is really not the way he wanted this to go. How about Josh Adams' opinion? I thought he would be much quicker. Started 17th. He's been stuck exactly there since the drop of the green.
Yeah, I think he's trying to wait this out. He might come to alive later in the run. We did see he did finish fairly well. I forgot where it was. He finished higher up than where he started, around 10th place. So I expect to see him there towards the race's end.
And just up the road, Sam Close got a bit of a traffic jam behind him. Ooh, car sideways out of 2. It's Race Clark in the 22 machine with big damage to that right side, and that's going to be probably terminal for the 22. Big hit there. I'd be amazed if there wasn't any suspension damage to that car, but let's take a look at what happened. Oh, got into the back of the 95 out of turn 2, and then skidded off the racetrack. So Adams got tight, got out of the gas. He actually got in the wall and checked up the 22, and he slammed on his brakes. I have to imagine there's significant suspension damage to that car.
Yeah, even Adams' car is not looking too good. Quite a bit of damage to his left rear, but definitely I think Clark got the worst of that end.
Acosta and Klooster, who's still fighting for 13th, and Sam Close, again, 22nd place finish in race 1. Not sure what happened to him. He just kind of fell back through the order, and it might have been on the pit stop with a penalty or something, but certainly not a great run for him in race 1. Klooster, who throws a block on Acosta down into turn 1.
Paul Ross now fighting with Richard Hines. He's going to try to make a pass on him. Should be able to make a pass on him as they head off into turn 3. So 8th place for Paul Ross.
And Dylan Hickey trying to get himself back inside the top 10. He looks to the inside of Richard Hines. And then behind, again, we were watching that battle with Acosta. But now Sam Close has caught Kloosterhuis. Whoa, the 27 of Cogswell. He's in the fence on the front straightaway. Big impact. And lap 11, our first caution of the night. And an incident retirement there for the 27 machine. But again, a little bit earlier than last race. But again, pretty much exactly what happened in the first one, with just a little bit of help from the 95. 27 goes around, and whoo, McEvoy somehow squeezes through there. But a big break for Race Clark and the 95 of Josh Adams. They're going to get to repair their cars under yellow.
Yeah, and I imagine that Frankie was fairly disappointed to see that because he had a fairly good lead over Matt Grunberg in second place.
And he's been lapping pretty quick and actually had extended that lead over Grunberg. I thought Grunberg would chase him down quickly. That wasn't the case, but it's 4 Fords and a Toyota leading this race here early at Motegi. Again, our first caution in race 1 was lap 17. Our first caution in race 2 was lap 11. Do you think we see more cautions in race 2?
Well, if I were to go off my trends of the race, off the last race, I don't think so. I think we might see similar. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a similar scenario. These guys again very clean, and that was also another, I guess you can call it two-car incident, although really only involved mostly Cogswell that got most of the damage from that. So I think these guys should keep it fairly clean. But again, with the aggression level we're seeing in race number 2 compared to race 1, we might see another caution. So it's kind of iffy. Depending.
If you've ever taken a stats class, kids, one race isn't enough to get any actual useful statistics off. I think your trends are a little misinformed there. We'll see.
Well,
I think this is going to be a lot like the Daytona duels, where we're going to see one be very clean and one be a mess. I think this one is probably more likely to be a mess with the aggression level we've seen so far.
Well, to talk about your thing about a stat class, I did take a stat class. I got a B minus, so take that take that what you will.
I got a B plus.
Want a cookie?
I love a cookie right now, actually. About 7 dozen of them sitting on the counter downstairs right now.
Well, as we're talking about cookies, pit stops are wrapping up here, and race off of pit road. It's gonna be Grunberg by a nose.
That was really close, but Grunberg is going to get it. Now, another interesting thing for me is Corey Lindsay has stayed out on the racetrack. Do you like this call? Do you not like this call?
Honestly, I don't think I like this call. There's quite a bit of amount of wear on these tires, and it's only going to get worse for Lindsay as he continues out on this set. We'll see if he stayed out there just to lead a lap, or if he's going to continue out there.
I have another question for you. What's the square root of 77?
I don't know. Some weird number. It's definitely not an even. It's not a integer.
You gonna tell me, or are you just gonna sit there and?
Oh, hold on. I'm opening up the calculator app. I entered it wrong. 8.77.
Okay, so 8.77. The caution came out of lap 11. Right. 11 minus 8.77, do that.
It's like 2.3.
2.3?
Yeah.
Corey Lindsay finishes second later. I'm sticking with it. That's my prediction. It's hard science that you cannot disprove that.
Well,
it's math.
The way he stayed out, so I mean, it's looking more in your favor as he's going to start leading the field back down to green.
I'm just saying, hey, you don't count out math, man. Okay, anyway, Corey Lindsay going to be restarting in the inside lane with the 54 Grunberg. This is really going to hurt Frankenfield, Finian. I don't think the 00 is going to get a spectacular restart. I think Grunberg is probably going to get a better launch, and he'll have the 14 tucked in behind him as well, who's also been very quick tonight. Hasn't really had an opportunity to lead the race for very long. And Tate Lytle is also in that outside lane, so I think the outside is the place to be for this restart.
Yeah, we'll see how Corey Lindsay does, if he's able to stay out there, or if he'll fall all the way to the back. You're definitely I feel like it's gonna be a scramble on this restart.
Green flag back in the air, and Corey Lindsay gets a decent restart, but is it enough to hold off Grunberg? He's got a spectacular run on the outside lane, and it's a drag race off into turn 1. Kevin Finn looks to the outside of the 54, doesn't have a run there though, and here comes that 54 on the outside lane, and Lindsay going backwards very quickly, 3 wide with the Salmaso car in the middle.
Oh, and Lytle, yeah, and there you see 3 wide, now 4 wide for a moment as Lindsay drops to the bottom.
Yeah, Corey Lindsay going backwards quickly. He's going to just back out of this. There's really, the 6 car is Zielinski. Really sideways. He's going to crash in turn 4. Sideways, out of control. He spins up into the fence. Caution flies. Well, for Corey Lindsay, that was a very lucky time to have a caution. But for Zielinski, a bad time to be where he was on the racetrack.
Yeah, Lindsay was able to experiment there with the new tires there for half lap, and I think he got enough data to figure out that was not going to be a good call. So I think he's probably going to come down on pit road, get some tires, and get back out there. Yeah,
Lindsay just got loose, chased up the racetrack. Good call to throw the yellow, though, with half the field still coming and coming quickly. So Zielinski spins back to 25th, and we'll see. I think the only car we'll see pit here is the 00 of Corey Lindsay.
Yeah, unfortunate for Zelensky, who was running in 8th when that happened. He was having a really good run here compared to the last race. And it's going to put him all the way in the back. He's going to have to work his way back up to the front.
All right, so we've had 2 cautions so far in 16 laps, which is already double the number from the first race here. Again, we have about 37 minutes of racing remaining if we were to go green from here. And Corey Lindsay pulls off into the pit lane. He'll get himself 4 Mr. Feelgoods. And you can see a couple more stragglers coming on. Richard Hines, Derbyshire, Chuck Sweeting. Haven't heard a lot from him this race either. And a couple other drivers, including the 6 of Levi Zelensky. Taking a look again at our track map here. Again, 1.5 miles, 2 corners, egg-shaped oval. Fitting, I know you have a lot of experience driving this place in IndyCar, so we'll bank off your experience there. But where is it easier to make a pass? Is it turns 1 and 2, which is the tighter end, or turns 3 and 4, the much wider end?
I would say definitely 1 and 2 has got to be the easiest place to make a pass, just considering how wide it is and how much more of a momentum you can get on that outside. It's easy to get to the outside of someone and then clear them with a run on the back straightaway. 3 and 4 is a lot more tricky because you got to brake a lot harder for it, if at all. Really, 1 and 2 you don't have to that much, and then try to get to the inside or to the outside of someone. So 3 and 4 a lot more tricky than 1 and 2 on this track.
One thing we didn't take a look at earlier was the track conditions. 76 in the air, 92 on the racetrack. It's not hot per se, but certainly not as much grip as there could be. Zelensky almost had it saved, Finian, but we've seen a lot of drivers loose and tight, but only a couple drivers completely lose control. So it seems like it's grippy enough out there to prevent accidents, but I think Zelensky was kind of in a tough situation. There wasn't a whole lot of air on the nose of that car to help him save that machine. So, second caution of the night, with 60 laps to go, and we'll probably have 1 more pace lap. Make it 2. As we don't have any cars currently scored a lap down, but got 1 more caution lap to make. Richard Lafferty, the last driver on the racetrack. Only 1 driver retired, that's the 27 of Jonathan Cogswell. All right, predictions for this one, Finian. It's been a little bit more competitive at the front of the field with the 54 up here now. So the 54, the 15, the 18's not quite back up front, but the 14 of Kevin Finn's looked pretty racy. Who do you got in your eye this time around?
I think it's kind of hard not to say that 54, Matt Grunberg. I think he'll give Frankenfield a run for his money. Frankenfield is very strong. As we saw, it was pretty similar to what we saw in the first race. He's strong when he's up front, but I'm afraid it's only when he's up front that he's really strong. Once he gets back into traffic, I just don't think he's got the same pace that he does, so he tends to fall back. So I feel like we might see something similar as we saw to the second part of race number 1.
Nick Miller in the 9. Don't remember seeing this car in race number 1, so it looks like he's joined. He might have been there, but it didn't have a great race, we'll say that. He was kind of hanging out too near the rear if he was there. I don't even remember him being there. But he's 13th right now. Kyle Hanshaw having a bit of a better race. He was one of the other cars involved in that lap 17 collision in race 1. Runs 12th at the moment. And now we'll get our 1 to green as the lights shut off on the pace car. And Grunberg elects to choose the outside lane. These guys must know something that I don't, because I'd certainly be choosing the inside here. Just with, it seems like with how wide the racetrack is, it seems like the inside line can move a lot better on the initial start. But apparently these guys have been taking the outside all night long.
Yeah, I think they're looking at it as that way they can take a bigger arc in the corner and gain some more time over the second place guy stuck on the inside. In second place, that's my thinking of why they're choosing to be on the outside, but that's just me.
Of course, Twin Ring Motegi, famous for its multiple racetracks built into one facility. You see the road course kind of weaving in and out of the oval here. They don't share any part of the racetrack, so it's not really considered a roval. The front straightaways of the 2 racetracks are parallel, but run in opposite directions.
So I was about to say someone should link those 2 up and call NASCAR, and I think they'll be willing to come down here.
You know what? That's honestly not a terrible idea. I actually really enjoyed. We participated in the what ended up being the final race of the season at Motegi for the Scars Ferrari Challenge. I very much enjoyed driving in the Ferrari GT3 car at night. Pace car's off. to be restart lap number 20. And Gruenberg launches quickly. The 56 does not get going, but Johnny Thomas is making sure he does with a big push to the back of the 56.
Yeah, he really wanted him to go. Lytle didn't really go anywhere, so he's going to be side by side with Frankville as they race off into turn 1. Gruenberg is going to try to check himself out. Frankville gets tight, goes up the hill.
Yeah, big bobble there by the 15 as they make their way off of turn 2. Onto the back straightaway now. A big gaggle of race cars in the middle and the rear of the field and at the front. Just crazy action on these restarts tonight in race 2 specifically. But for second place, it's still a battle between the 15 and the 56.
Yeah, looks like Frankville might win out on this battle, especially in 3 and 4, and he does. Lytle trying to get a run to that outside.
Johnny Thomas down to the inside lane. Looks like he sorted out his internet connectivity issues and going for 4th place on Kevin Finn. And also Paul Ross has started to creep into the picture, currently scored in 11th place. How about Carlos Acosta inside the top 10 here early in this one?
Yeah, Acosta starting in 13th, so it's been up here for most of this race in particular, and it's starting to have a good run.
Actually, the Blurry Motorsports cars as well, excluding Corey Lindsay, the 3 of Tanner Sharp and the 94 Kluster, who's both inside the top 10. Second place under attack again. Frankenfield has it. Lytle wants it. But I've just watched Frankenfield exit so much higher than everybody else fitting. It's so interesting to watch these lines change around throughout the race. But just, it seems like everyone else kind of hugs the inside lane all the way to corner exit. But the 15 drifts up a much more traditional line, but certainly very different from the rest of the field.
Yeah, and I think everyone opting for different lines, especially trying to get out of the arrow shadow from the car in front. It really forces these cars up the hill, can't rotate it as much. I think that's definitely what Lytle's trying to do, trying to gain some time on Frankenfield.
Kyle Hanshaw got a big push from Carlos Acosta in turn number 1. He'll take 9th place away from Ross, but Ross is going to cross him over at the exit of turn 2. Oh, I don't know if there was contact there, but it was really, really close if there wasn't.
So in the front, Kevin Finn up in the wall. He's going to drop from 4th to 6th.
I'm keeping my eye on the 46 of Hanshaw right now because he's in the middle of a pretty intense battle. But you mentioned Kevin Finn. He got slightly in the wall, but we're going to go back to that battle here with Hanshaw, Acosta, Hickey, and others.
And Hickey now looking to the outside of Acosta. Can't quite get a run just yet. Hunt looking up the inside of the 1.
And just behind our 3 wide, it's the 5 of Sam Close in the middle of it. And then the 6 of Zielinski trying to rebound. And the 95 of Josh Adams, who was involved in the first caution of the night. Actually, not in a caution, my correction there. It was the 22 of Race Clark getting together with him. No caution came of that incident. But certainly some big damage to those cars. Chuck Sweeting in 14th. That Mystery Motorsports car hasn't really been a threat to win tonight, but he's just slowly clawing his way forward. People starting to get single filed out. I see the 8 of Richard Lafferty on the inside taking a look at Josh Adams off into turn 3. But for the lead, Finian Matt Gruenberg has it. And can anyone wrestle it away from this 54 driver? He's been so good in both series this year.
I've been looking at the times. Frankville slowly reeling Gruenberg and not setting the world on fire, but slowly starting to reel that 54 in. So I don't know. I thought Frankville would have dropped back by now, but it looks like he's actually doing the opposite, slowly reeling in Gruenberg. So he might be a threat here in a few laps.
There's Tanner Sharp taking a look at Kevin Finn, who scraped the wall a couple laps ago, has slid back now to 8th place as Tanner Sharp takes it away and pulls across his nose, and he gets turned into the fence. Hard hit for the 3. And right back down collects Acosta, Dave Hunt, and the 95 drills him in the rear bumper, and Lafferty and the 22 of Clark, the big one, in turns 3 and 4. What a mess that was. Bunch of drivers involved in that one. Richard Hines got a piece of it too, but Josh Adams also involved. He heads down pit lane. That car is done for the night. What happened here?
Yeah, there's kind of 2 separate things you got to look at.
Well, it starts with the 3 of Tanner Sharp taking a dive to the inside of the 14. He slides across his nose and was not clear, and Finn just didn't bother backing out and said, "You're not going to clear yourself. I'll make sure I'm cleared after you." And then, yeah, the 95 gets turned off the nose of the 2 They just didn't get slowed up in time. What a big mess this was. Oh man, what a hit. And the 95 took a hit right to the passenger side door. Here's his onboard as he comes into this mess.
Yeah, and the problem that I'm seeing here is that I was looking on board with Adams. He actually couldn't see the wreck happening until he saw the 3 coming down the track after hitting the wall. Started to slow down and then got hit by the 2, and there was pretty much nothing he could do at that point. He was just a passenger.
Yeah, he was already sliding because the 2 ran into the back of him and just sent the 95 into the wreck sideways. Lafferty took a big hit too, and the 22 of Race Clark had a pretty good angle on this as well. Here's his angle. Not much you can do if you're him. What a massive wreck.
Yeah, so a wreck that looked like it was going to take out maybe 1 car took out a few more than that. So take a full damage count after the dust has completely settled here to see who's left.
Yeah, Corey Lindsay slammed on the brakes. He locked up and almost spun to the inside lane, but avoided the incident. And also, I think the other car that was collected was the 91 of Derbyshire, who started 6th tonight. And he flew into this mess and couldn't see, and he also got involved big time. Oh. Alright, so that is that. We've kind of gone over all the incidents. We head back up to the front, and yeah, so it looks like Race Clark. Well, so Acosta, Derbyshire, Hines, Clark, Lafferty, McKevoy, Sharp, Josh Adams, all involved in that collision. About 6 or 7 cars in total. Dave Hunt was also involved.
Yeah, I think Adams is going to have to call it a day, as well as Tanner and Sharp. Both those cars are heavily damaged, so I think they're definitely going to be retired. And I think, yeah, it seems to be the only 2 out of that incident are definitely retired. Everyone else is going to continue on out with varying levels of damage to several of those drivers.
All right, to avoid lag later on in the race, I'm going to take a moment and restart the timing and scoring software. So bear with us. We'll be back with you for the restart here in just a moment. Stay put. Welcome back live to SimTV. Thanks for joining us for that short break. Just had to restart the timing and scoring software, but everything is back and corrected as Matt Gruenberg leads this field, and Chad Frankenfield is outside. We've seen, I think, 3 cautions so far, the latest of which being a pretty big impact between Tanner Sharp, Josh Adams, Richard Lafferty, Austin Derbyshire, Carlos Acosta, Race Clark, Richard Hines, Dave Hunt, and the one that started it all alongside the 14 of Kevin Finn. Nothing Kevin Finn did wrong there, Finian. He just got used up and decided not to give the 3 a break, and you can't blame him for that.
Yeah, he pretty much just held his line, held his groove, and definitely had his right to that. Unfortunately, 3 got the worst end of that into the wall, and then that other incident happened, taking out a lot more drivers.
So I said earlier, you know, is it difficult to avoid a wreck here? Well, it can be because you're traveling at such speed, loading up so much on the right side tires with so little banking. But we're going to try again. Green flag back in the air. Lap 31 of 77, and Grunberg gets a spectacular restart.
Yeah, indeed. As always, he goes off into turn 1. Johnny Thomas going to follow him in to the inside, and he's going to be fighting side by side.
Caution.
Frank will caution out immediately.
Sam closed down in turn number 1. So the 3OG driver spun around.
Oh, what on earth happened here?
Let's find out.
So look at the 5.
Oh, motor blew on that car
Yeah.
and got turned by the 21 into the fence. And around he went. He already had some damage, I think, so that could have been the case. Let's ride on board, let's listen. Oh, nope, it was a misshift, Finian. A big misshift. That'll happen when you go from third gear back to, or from second gear back to first instead of the third, and the motor exploded on the 5 of Sam close, so another DNF. So this one has been very much like the duels, Finian, with one race being clean and the other one having a bit more incidents.
Yeah, I don't know how the hell you predicted that, but yeah, that's definitely what it's looking like.
I know my things, I know my trends.
Okay there, Larry Mac.
I, unlike Finian, because I'm a civilized person, don't make trends based off of only one race.
I can't read this out due to what was said, but what Sam Close just put on in the race chat, I'm gonna say it to the best I can. Expletive, 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 expletive. Love you guys. Bye.
Well, can't blame him for being frustrated. That's just a mistake that, you know, it happens to the best of us. You know, the shifters are kind of spring-loaded, and you throw it in the wrong gear, and poof, there it goes. So, Larry Mack, what are our trends for the remainder of this race?
I mean, do you really want to be asking me?
I'm just joking with you. All right, so let's see. So far tonight, we've run 33 of 77 laps. We've had 4 cautions on the night. Matt Grunberg has led the majority of this race. Johnny Thomas is up to 2nd place. Chad Frankenfield in 3rd. Lytle 4th. Salmaso in 5th.
Yeah, I mean, now, honestly, I expect this to kind of settle itself down due to just the amount of cars that have damage. So we're going to have less competitive cars making it side by side. So I think it should be calmer than as it's been in the first race, especially after that last caution that damaged a lot of cars.
You're basing this off of what?
My own knowledge of racing, which is not much.
Well, at least you admit it. All right, lap 34. We're going to have 2 to green this time through. As Grunberg, he's been did he not choose the inside lane last time, or was he on the outside? I don't remember.
He chose the inside lane last time.
Okay, so I was right there.
Which I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, it's the first time we've seen somebody choose the inside other than Frankenfield on the initial start in race 1. Okay. So, closing in on halfway in this race, Finian, which means we have about 25 to 30 minutes left, probably closer to 25. We've seen Grunberg lead the majority of this race. Frankenfield's still hanging tough. What about Paul Ross? I mean, he won the last race. Why is he not leading this one?
I would say a combination of, I think, guys around him getting a little bit faster, throwing a wrench into things, and also just being stuck back in traffic, as well as just the fact that we haven't had we haven't had a really long green flag run, which is why I think he starts to kind of come in, or a medium-sized green flag run. We saw him taper off towards the end of last race, coming to the checkered flag. So I just think he hasn't had enough time to really move up as many spots as he started back in 14th. He's currently in 8th, so we'll see how this run goes for him if he's able to gain some more spots.
Started in 14th place. He's running 7th now, so he's up 7 spots in 34 laps, but he's got to get 7 more to get into that top spot where he completed race 1 just about 40 minutes ago, roughly. So there's the one. The green lights are off on the pace car. We'll re-rack them, restack them. And this time, Grunberg chooses the inside lane yet again. So I wonder what's changing the decision here. I wonder if it has to do with the fact that the track temp is falling, and there's just so much more grip on that inside lane now.
Yeah, the sun is setting. It's about 4:45 in sim. So sun starting to go down. And it's only going to get cooler from here on out.
And cooler means faster. We've seen lap times already. The best lap times in this race are about a second quicker than they were in race number 1. All right. I think we're going to go green for a little while after this restart. I don't think we're done with yellows tonight. I think we're going to have a little bit longer of a run this time through. You can't make it on the end from... Actually, yes, you could.
No, I think you can from here. It's going to be a bit of a stretch, and especially a stretch on the tires, more importantly. So it should be interesting to see if we do go green all the way.
Well, I don't think anyone is in the position to make it just... I think it's going to be tight. All right, green flag is going to fly once again as we go back to the starter cam here. Yellow flag is going to be extinguished, and green flag back in the air. Grunberg gets another great launch. Field a bit more disorganized towards the rear, but we make our way down to turn 1, and that 54 well clear of the 15.
Yeah, though he didn't get as big of a jump as he has in previous starts, with Frank Field definitely still on his tail, as well as Lytle and Salmaso.
Paul Ross and Chuck Sweeting, they're side by side on the back straightaway. Sweeting showing his face late in this one.
Yeah, he's starting to come alive up into 8. He's going to throw it to the outside of Hanshaw as well to try to get 7th place away.
Ooh, Grunberg took a lunge Frankenfield took a lunge at Grunberg and wasn't able to complete it. And how about Brandon Klusterhuis in the 94 here, Finian? He started back in 16th, running 6th right now, looking for 5th on the inside of the 14 of Kevin Finn.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised. Didn't see that race to here earlier in last race. Ooh, he's going to slide. Almost hits Kevin Finn. Very close.
It's going to stack everybody up behind him. Hanshaw and Chuck Sweeting dive to the inside, and here comes Paul Ross around the outside to go around both of them.
Yeah, Ross started to make some moves. I think he realizes now is the time to go make up as many spots as he can while the tires are still fresh.
And while you're around other cars and while everyone's bunched up. And he'll get 2 spots in one corner, and Dylan Hickey's going to try to follow him on through.
He's going to go outside of Sweeting and Hanshaw. Hanshaw's going to clear him to the inside. Hickey's going to do a crossover.
Hickey's got a big run on the 46 now as they make their way out of turn 2.
Whoa! Paul Ross gets into Klusterhuis.
Wow, big save there by the 18 all the way down to the apron. And they're 3 wide off into turn 3. Careful there, guys. I'm afraid to pull away from this to look at the replay, but there comes Levi Zielinski up the middle, 3 wide.
Yeah, 3 wide in front of them and 3 wide also behind them, so a big stack of cars here.
Three by 3 off into turn 1. Klusterhuis goes the long way around. Hanshaw, there's Hickey on the outside of the 6 of Zielinski. And this is very tense moments if you're in any of these race cars right now.
Yeah, especially these guys are playing with inches and with this package, just constantly
there it is!
Sweeting it sideways.
Does he save it? Looks like he almost has it under control, but he's going to back way off the gas and hold it on the apron. Well done. But he avoids a major incident. We head back up to that group of cars. They've single filed out, but Zielinski's still on the charge. Frankenfield's taken the lead away through all this mess, Finney, and he's gone back to the top spot over Grunberg, excuse me.
Yeah, we missed that with all that stuff going on. Took it into going into turn 1.
I don't think Grunberg's done yet, though. He's been mighty quick, but Frankenfield has just been quicker later in this one. How about Salmaso in 4th place as well? But let's jump back to Dylan Hickey because he's on the outside of Wade Lear as they exit turn 4.
Yeah, this group of guys still not done fighting. They're still sorting each other out. Hickey with a nice run to the outside. Also ahead of them, Zielinski and Kluster, who's fighting for a spot.
And right behind them, I think that's the 00 of Corey Lindsay. And he's gotten his way through to 14th. Remember, he tried some strategy earlier. It didn't work out. He hasn't recovered yet. So Hickey back inside the top 10. As Miller and Dave Hunt are side by side in 12th. And Dave Hunt was involved in that most recent collision, although he's got his car mostly repaired.
Yeah, he's going to drive past Nick Miller. He's going to clear him.
Not quite. They're still door-to-door off into turn number 1. And there he clears him. So the 53 in front of the 9, but the 9 has to check up. He lets him back in line. Now Corey Lindsay takes a big run to the back of the 9 car. We'll see if he'll... Ooh, see them bump drafting on the back straight. Finney in the 9 pushing the 53. Ooh, was there some push and a shove there?
I mean, I would argue that this track's a little too big to try to do that, but no, they're going to try to prove me wrong.
Is that all the 14 was doing on the 3 car earlier? Just a little bump and run?
I guess. Went a little wrong in that scenario.
Well, it's more like the 3 car did a rear bump and run on the front bumper of the 14. Doesn't usually work out very well.
He was defensive from an offensive position.
There's an inside joke that no one will ever understand. Back up front, Frankenfield has pulled away a bit from Matt Grunberg. This is a power move for Frankenfield. That 54 has been really difficult to beat this year, but Frankenfield has just taken him by the straps and just hoisted himself up into the top spot as Lytle closes in for second.
I was going to say, I'm actually surprised. Lytle's been sticking in there. Some also pretty close to this, although it's been kind of falling off. Lytle definitely within it, and was actually really close to Grunberg a lap or two ago. It's also started to fall off.
So has Grunberg lost a bit of the magic that he had in race 1, or was he just never quick enough to lead this race? Remember, he finished 3rd. He climbed from 28th to 5th in about, 50-something laps, and then wasn't able to get too much farther than that. I see Zielinski and Hanshaw, they were side by side for a moment, as they still are down into turn 1.
Yeah, well, with most of the field sorted out in single file, I think we're going to be looking at a long run here, which is going to be interesting because we were kind of close on fuel when we went back green here, so I'm curious, will people...
Chuck Sweeting has come to pit lane for you. I think this is a reset. And...
Oh, he's actually left.
He just had to go. Pulled over the side of the road and left. And I think he had to do this a couple weeks ago as well.
No, he blew an engine coming off of 4.
Did he?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Oh, he was shifting. Oh.
I heard it still running when it was down in turn 1.
Yeah. No, it definitely blew in 4. I think he might have had engine damage and it overcooked the engine.
Interesting.
Because it wasn't a misshift either, so...
Also, remember what I said right before we went back to green?
I don't know what you said.
It was when I said it was going to be a long run.
Yeah.
I'm right on multiple counts tonight. I just thought I'd put that out there.
No, I'm going to put my foot down. You said that this wasn't going to be the last caution.
You're correct. I did say that this was not going to be the last caution, but I did say we'd get a long green flag run. Not to the end. And speaking of this run, we've been... I forgot I restarted my software, so it's not going to report the correct number of laps. So we've been green ever since, what, lap... 37. 37. So it's only about a 10 or 11 lap run, but that's relatively long. It's been a little while.
Sorry, correction, at 36 was when we went back green.
Klusterhuis and Dylan Hickey fighting for 9th place. Hickey dives off into turn 1 with a big lunge. And not going to be able to clear him.
Yeah, Klusterhuis is going to get a nice run on the back straightaway, though, opposed to the 1. They're going to still continue to fight side by side.
Another lunge again for the 1. Not able to do it, though. You have to get that car cleared before they can throttle up again mid-corner. Top spot hasn't changed, still 8/10 between the leaders. And there's the 1 clearing the 94, slips up the racetrack, and Klusterhuis going to cross them back over as they exit turn 2, and it'll be a drag race down the back straight, but I think Hickey has won this race for now. See Dave Hunt and Corey Lindsay creeping into the picture behind them.
Yeah, I was going to say, Klusterhuis has started to kind of fall back a little bit. He was really good. I think he's really good on the short runs, but starts to fall off when we see, as you're saying, Lear and Hunt and Lindsay falling into the picture here.
Dave Hunt searching back and forth, hunting the back of the 11 car. And that's the Learjet number 11, driven by Wade Lear. And the exit turn 2, kind of a stack up. And a kind of a bit of a hornet's nest out of turn 2.
Yeah, Hunt almost got into Lindsay. That could have been very bad, but they keep it off each other. Hunt sideways in 3.
Oh, he's bobbling sideways, but he's going to get down to the apron, just what Chuck Sweeting did to save his car, and he does it as well. Good job by the 53 of Hunt. And Lindsay up to 11th, passing Wade Lear.
Yeah, so Lindsay feeling much more comfortable with the car in race 2 compared to race 1. I think it has to do with the track cooling down. If they're starting later in the day compared to race number 1 when the sun was beating down on the track.
And driving past his teammate, Brandon Kloosterhuis, in the Glory Motorsports 00 is inside the top 10. That's Kloosterhuis and Wade Lear still side by side for 11th. That got a bit dicey out of turn 4. Lytle and Selmaso, they're pretty close together, finishing about a tenth of a second apart through 1 and 2. They've separated now.
So yeah, and Lytle just hit the apron, so he's going to lose some momentum here coming off of 2. So Selmaso, as you've been saying, he's just been reeling Lytle slowly each time over the last few laps. So he's looking to overtake third place, but yeah, not much action inside the top 4.
About a second gap between Frankenfield and Grunberg at the top of the running order. See Lytle charging the corners a bit more, but doesn't get the exit speed that Selmaso does. And look at Selmaso entering high and exiting low. And the 56 drifting wide on corner exit. That's going to give the 4 a huge run on the back straightaway. He heads to the inside. He'll have the spot easily off into turn 3. But Lytle's going to fight back and drive right around the outside lane. And it's going to be a front straightaway drag race now between these two. Oh, no.
Selmaso.
Lytle hit the fence.
Yeah, Tomaso was loose, but Tomaso going to win that fight. He's going to clear Lytle. Lytle hits the wall.
Again, that's the second time on the same straightaway, but Lytle's going to go back to the inside lane. Took a look, but won't have the run to be able to do it. So move the 4 3OG Racing machine into third. Zielinski reporting a slow speed through a couple corners. I'm not sure what led to this.
Yeah, I've been watching him over the last few laps. He's been just falling back like a rock. I was trying to chase down what happened to him, but I can't entirely figure it out.
Yeah, really slipping backwards very quickly. And he's back to 16th place now. Wade Lear, Dave Hunt right in front of him, though, and they're battling for 12th. The 53 machine entering a bit lower on the racetrack to the 11th.
Oh, I just heard Zielinski cut off his engine.
Saving fuel to the end here, Finian, potentially. So we restart on lap number 36. What's 77 minus 36? That's going to be, what, 41? 41? We had cars go 41 laps. Now, remember, they did they pit on that last caution, though? I don't think they did. We have a bunch of cars coming in, at least the 9 and Nick Miller is coming to pit lane this time through, though. And Kloosterhuis as well. So here's where the pit stops are going to be. And maybe the 6 has another trick up his sleeve. Can you find out when the last time the 6 car pitted for me?
I will.
Frankenfield is shifting, meanwhile.
Zielinski, he did pit on that last caution.
So he pitted probably lap 34 or 35.
Yeah.
So that tells me that he has to go about 42 to 43 laps. We saw cars go 42 in race number 1. So I think it's possible. You see Lytle, he heads to pit lane. You see him dropping down the order there. Now we know Frankenfield isn't saving anything right now. He's full beans and shifting, so he's wasting a ton of fuel. Lytle's in his pit box. So now we might have a similar situation to what we saw Saturday night in the Outsider Racing League at the Roval, where we might have some drivers trying to go all the way to the end and some drivers trying to make that extra pit stop and use that speed that they have in those tires. Paul Ross has made a pit stop. We know what his strategy is. Selmaso peels off.
And I think a lot of the guys in the front, they definitely didn't pit under that last caution, so they don't really have a choice. They pretty much have to make a pit stop, and you see all of them pretty much cutting the run in half. So this means that all the people that pitted on that most recent caution
could make it to the end if they save some, but we have 20 laps to the end of this race. And I think the 6 car Zielinski is the first one that I know of that's on that strategy.
Yeah, and he had a pretty strong car too. I'm glad because I thought he got damaged, but yeah, he's got a pretty strong car as well. So I think if anyone's going to be able to pull it off, definitely that 6 is going to be one to watch and see if he ends up in the front of the field.
Leader Frankenfield the pit lane, and looks like he is in his box cleanly. And where's Matt Gruenberg? Is he going to respond to this relatively quickly? I imagine he will. We'll see if he comes into pit lane.
No, doesn't seem like it. He's going to stay out.
Interesting. Oh my goodness, Finian. The 14 car just drilled the wall out of turn 4. Hard hit.
Oh, man.
Right in the middle of the pit sequence. And I can't believe what I just saw. He looked like he got flung into the fence by a trebuchet. The way he hit that wall.
It's funny because on my screen it looked like a completely normal wreck, so I'm curious what you saw, what the viewers saw.
Just the way that he came out of turn 4 and swung into that fence. Here's another look from the first angle. Yeah, just, wow, what a hit. It was just the angle I was watching, but it was a vicious impact. He just got loose in turn 4, chased up the racetrack very much like we saw Zielinski do in the earlier in the race, and backed into the fence right in the middle of the pit sequence, and there's about half the field trapped a lap down. This makes everything really interesting. Frankenfield, though, is on the lead lap. Matt Gruenberg leads this race. Oh boy, Mr. Crew Chief. Lots of decisions to be made.
Was it if Frankenfield did stay? Yeah. So if he stayed on the lead lap, he should. I would think he would cycle out to be the leader. Because obviously he's going to stay out unless he chooses to come down pit road, although I don't think he would.
Yeah, you wouldn't give up that track. There really only is 12 cars on the lead lap at the moment, so maybe that's worth doing. But if you've been in command of this whole race, I don't see why you'd give up that track position on purpose.
And I feel like also, especially again with this cup package the way it is, I feel like being the leader is a key more than a key thing to do. Be more than anything else. Especially as we've been seeing not many passes for the lead, or only a few here and there. So I think definitely that leader is going to be key for you guys. And nope, Frankenfield is going to decide to come in.
Really? That's very intriguing. I didn't expect to see that be the case. You know who else is staying out, Finian? Corey Lindsay. So some split strategies here. And kind of took this race that was relatively straightforward, kind of threw it out the window. Also, can I just say, my prediction from earlier. We'd have a green flag run, and then we weren't done with cautions. I should buy a lottery ticket at this point.
Do you want a degree in statistics?
Well, no, I just want a lottery ticket because it's all pure luck. I had no idea this was going to happen this way. It's not often I get that lucky. Dylan Hickey, how about this guy, by the way? Running third at the moment. He's had a spectacular race.
Yeah, no, he was kind of one that kind of surprised me. He had an okay race one, but in this the later part of this race too, he's just been clawing up the order and has shown to be having a really strong car here. So when these guys all reset, it'll be interesting to see where everyone ends up. So Lindsay actually looks like he's coming down to pit and get some tires. So that'll put Gruenberg back in the lead. And Hickey is going to be starting in second outside him.
Tate Lytle back down pit lane. He is one of those drivers, I believe he's one of the drivers that's trapped a lap down. No, he's actually scored on the lead lap. So just coming in, might as well with this few cars out there and running. Okay. Well, 15 laps to go. Is there anything that you can do to predict this outcome of this race here, Phineas?
I mean, I would say the one that would have probably picked to win this race is the guy leading. And out of the guys behind him, I think he's probably the strongest car. I think Hickey's got a good car. I don't think a strong enough car to compete with the 54. Frankfield's back in actually 6th.
Oh.
Or sorry, is that I think 5th.
We're going to find out how this is going to end here in just under 9 minutes of racing. Do you think we're done with cautions yet?
I mean, I would like to say that we're done, but I've been proven wrong almost every single time I've said that, so I don't know.
Field rolls out of turn 4. This will be the 1 to green this time through. It'll be a 13-lap run to the end of this race. Are we running green, white checkers? I feel like we are.
No.
We're not?
We're not.
Okay.
I just ran and checked with Corey.
Good to know. So no green, white checkers, which is probably a good thing for a lot of these drivers. We've seen it play out in several different ways so far this season, but for better or for worse. When I filled in for LSR TV last week at Kentucky, the green-white checkers were a very interesting way to end the race, but there was a couple other cars that got torn up in that, so there's always a trade-off between excitement and the carnage that you see. But there's a lot of wave-arounds at the moment, Finian, which means that these front 10 or so, I think, are the ones to compete for this race here in just a moment. So it's going to be Dylan Hickey on the outside, but he's going to be restarting second to Matt Grunberg. Then it's Dave Hunt, Johnny Thomas, Chad Frankenfield, Levi Zielinski, Derbyshire, Lear, McKeevoy, Corey Lindsay, your top 10. Well, if we thought this first part of this race was crazy, I don't think we're quite prepared for what we're about to see. Race number 1 was relatively calm, cool, and collected with one single car incident slowing the pace of this race. This is our 5th caution of the night, and it's coming to a close. Pace car rolls off. Grunberg in control of the field yet again. 13 laps to go to decide it. The second race in the doubleheader here tonight at Motegi is green with 13 to go.
Yeah, Grunberg off to a great start. Hunt not so much. Hickey's looks like he's gonna retain second place as Johnny Thomas is trying to get him to move out of the way so he can take second place.
Everyone's scattering for positions right now. Dave Hunt
Zielinski
side by side with Zielinski. There was contact there for a moment as they exit turn 2.
You want a black flag administered to Luis Almaso.
Is there a reason given?
I believe it was for changing lanes on the restart. I'll double check that.
That's gotten a bunch of people before. Salmaso all the way back in 12th place. So changing lanes before the restart, is that a pass-through or is that a DOL? Or not a DOL, stop and go.
I believe that's just a pass-through.
All right, so pass-through penalty assigned to the 4, and yes, indeed. You see Tate Lytle trying to claw back some positions after losing them earlier. Coming to about 11 laps to go. Look at the 11 of Wade Lear throwing a block on the 56 of Lytle, and not quite. The 56 going to dive to the inside. There's Derbyshire.
Lear got loose. He went off the track, and he's going to lose a lot of momentum. Here comes Corey Lindsay to the inside.
Lindsay being opportunistic here in 10th place, trying to get another spot. Salmaso has left the racetrack, Finian. The end of his night. Dylan Hickey and Johnny Thomas fighting for second place, but it's all Matt Grunberg out up front. Chad Frankfield unable to do anything right now, stuck in 6th.
And here comes Zielinski to the inside of Dave Hunt. They're going to duke it out. For 4th place, here he comes to the inside. And can't quite get anything done else. Frankfield on the wall.
Yeah, scraped the fence out of turn 4. It's going to kill his momentum, but Lytle's not close enough to take advantage of it just yet. 10 laps to go.
And Grunberg starting to check out from the rest of the field. Hickey running in 2nd place. Thomas in 3rd, but they have no answer for Grunberg up in front.
Zielinski all over the back of Dave Hunt here for 4th, but just can't do anything with it. Corey Lindsay looking for 9th on the inside of Lear off into turn 3.
Yeah, but he's going to have to settle in behind there, so no exchange of position. But there's, I see Lytle now and Frankenfield fighting for position. Lytle overtaking. And to the inside he goes. Frankenfield trying to pin him to the... Well, oh! Lytle hits the line, gets loose a little bit, and Frankenfield continues to keep that spot.
9 laps to go. Grunberg leads by 1.2 seconds over Dylan Hickey. How about this stack up here with Zielinski and Dave Hunt?
Yeah, these guys have been going at it. It's been absolutely cutthroat between them. They have not been able to sort themselves out. Zielinski, though, going to be up on the high side. I think he's going to be in the more preferred lane. Indeed he is. He's going to clear him before they even come out of turn 2. Frankfield going to try to do the same on the outside, but Hunt's going to continue defending.
Wade Lear behind. Got passed by Corey Lindsay, so Lindsay moves up into 9th. Matt Grunberg leads this race by 1.5 seconds. Finian, no answer to his knocking on the door of another victory in 3-wide competition this year. He's been spectacular so far at every kind of racetrack, and tonight he's only 6 laps away, or rather 7 laps away from taking home yet another one.
Yeah, we were talking about it in between race 1 and 2. 1 at Bristol, 1 at Dover. Almost would have made it 3 in a row if he won the first race here, but is close to getting third victory of the season as Lytle and Frankenfield continue to fight it out. Yeah,
Frankenfield has just lost all the ground, and unfortunately he was probably the quickest car here tonight in race number 2 at least, but the strategy didn't work out with that late caution with the 14 of Kevin Finn hitting the wall out of turn 4. It's caught Frankenfield back here in 6th and 7th. Didn't help Lytle either, but the man it did help is that 54 Grunberg, as we have a battle for second shaping up here between Hickey and Johnny Thomas. How about this run for Hickey? A spectacular call to do what he did, and he's put himself into second place, by far his best run of the season.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's going to try to do everything he can, too, with Thomas lurking back to keep it that way and keep himself into second place.
Oh, Frankenfield spinning in turns 3. Does he save it? He does. An incredible save after contact with Tate Lytle. That was a big, big moment there for the 15.
Yeah, and it was only some light contact with Lytle in the quarter panel, but it was enough to send the 15 completely sideways, and a great job by Frankenfield to save it, as you were saying.
Yeah, just clips the quarter panel, and just an all-out four-wheel drift. Excellent job, but Frankenfield slips to 7th in the late going here, and won't have an opportunity to get back to the bumper of the 56. 5 laps to go for the leader. Battle for second, still 4/10 separating them. Let's jump to 10th place. Paul Ross and Wade Lear fighting for that spot.
Yeah, Ross, this race has not gone, I think, the way he would have liked. Hasn't really been able to make any forward progress at any point in time. He's made up a few spots here and there, but not enough, not as much as we thought that he would have.
Certainly not. Derbyshire and Corey Lindsay, they're fighting for 8th place. How about Derbyshire, by the way? Remember, he started 6th, fell all the way back to about 20th spot, missed that big wreck in turn 4. He's climbed his way back inside the top 10. Lindsay's going to go for 8th, but I think as long as nothing changes here, he should still get a top 10 out of this.
Yeah, good night for Derbyshire after it was looking like it was going to be a lot worse, so nice to see him get a good run out of this. But as Grunberg crosses the line, it's going to be 3 laps to go.
Oh, contact! No, the 00 gets turned into the fence, and caution flies, and that will be the end of the race, Finian. So Lindsay gets turned across the nose of the 91. Caution out, and that's going to hand the victory over to Matt Grunberg. No surprises here. I don't think anything would have changed. But the race ends a couple laps early for Matt Grunberg. He'll go to victory lane yet again. Let's take a look at that incident real quick. Now, this is kind of what we saw earlier with the 14 and the 3. And yeah, the 00 just came up the racetrack. I think he thought the 91 would have tracked out a bit further, but that wasn't the case. They get together and caution flew.
Take a look at the replay from Paul Ross's onboard.
We shall do that. Here's Paul Ross's onboard. Oh, yeah, that to me, that's on the double. Wow, he did a great job missing that. That was on the 00, but I think he thought the 91 was going to pull up the racetrack, who ultimately didn't. It's just a miscalculation there by Corey Lindsay. Well, Grunberg has had a spectacular season so far this year, and it's only going to continue.
Oh. I thought he was going to come to pit road for a second.
Pull a Mark Martin?
I thought that too. Yeah, he pulled to the apron. I thought, no way would he do that. But yeah, he's going to continue out. Give me a scare. He's going to come white flag in the air for these guys. And yeah, just a great start to his season for him. Just shy of 3 wins in a row, but he'll still get 3 wins and going to continue a dominating performance.
And he's already leading the points over David Wilson. You did fix those points, right? Oh no, never mind. You fixed the link. Yes. Okay, Cup Series.
Yeah.
Matt Grunberg leads the points prior to this event by 16 over David Wilson, and he'll just continue to extend that. We've had 7 races so far, and Grunberg has 5 top 10s in those 7 races, and also 5 top 5s, and 3 wins, and it'll be 3 wins in 8 races after the end of this tonight. So he has just done a spectacular job. No surprises here. But again, he had to work for it pretty hard tonight, or in the first race, but in the second race, got a little bit lucky, and sometimes you'd rather be lucky than good.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, looking at the points, I realized one of the drivers we're missing is David Wilson, who's second place in the points. He's going to take a bit of a hit in points standings. But yeah, Grunberg, after starting in the back in race number 1, climbed his way back to 3rd. I think he honestly would have won it if he started up earlier, but here, as he comes out of turn 4, it's going to be a win number 3 this season for the 54.
Yellow flag and checkered flag waving. And Matt Grunberg out of the final corner is going to pick up yet another victory in the 3-Wide RaceKings Cup Series this year. Dylan Hickey with a second place result. Johnny Thomas 3rd, Zielinski 4th, Dave Hunt 5th, Lytle 6th, Frankenfield, Derbyshire, Ross, Wade Lear the rest of your top 10. See the congratulatory bump to the rear of the 54. Well done, guys. Well done. And so many congratulations. There's Tate Lytle coming up to do the same. And here's a look at your results as they coast around. Derbyshire with a top 10 finish in 8th place. A great result for him.
Yeah, also for Dave Hunt, too, with a top 5 finish for him.
Yeah, Dave Hunt again, yeah. You mentioned 5th place for him. Levi Zielinski pulls out a 4th after having trouble earlier tonight. But poor nights for Sam Close, Josh Adam, Tanner Sharp, Chuck Sweeting, Kevin Finn.
Yeah, a lot of guys at the bottom of the order really, usually a lot of them taken out from damage or some sort. A lot of guys, a lot of good, strong cars at the bottom of the order. I think they're going to be looking forward to next week.
Matt Grunberg going to be doing burnouts again tonight. He's been victorious several times this season. And burnouts here in Japan for the 54 One Sim Racing Ford Mustang. He's getting real good at those burnouts.
Yes, well, has a lot of practice doing so, being his 3rd one. I think it's only going to get better as the season goes on.
And we haven't even gotten into the bread and butter of he's really a short track guy, and we haven't really gotten to a whole lot of those yet. But burnouts successful for the 54. We'll be right back with interviews. Stay with us. Welcome back live to Sim TV after our doubleheader event here in Twin Ring Motegi. And of course, sitting here now with the 83 driver, Johnny Thomas. Johnny, race 1 didn't quite go as planned, but race number 2, a top 3 result for that you and that 83 JTR Racing team. A good result there after kind of a chaotic race. What was it like from your perspective, and how'd you end up getting that solid top 3 finish?
Yeah, race 2 is a good day. Race 1, we were having a little bit of computer issues, and that kind of held me back. I knew I had a top 5 car, and we made some strategy. I wish that caution didn't come out with Kevin there. We had the race, I think, between me and Corey. We were going to try to save fuel, and I think I had it. It's disappointing. It's also disappointing we didn't get a green, white, checkered. I've been lobbying those since it came out, and we didn't get it. So I would have liked to have one more shot at Matt. He's got some wins, and I don't. So I would have probably done something to him. But a good points day, 9th and the 3rd. We're going to move up a lot in the points, and that's what we needed. And go to the Roval, and then that All-Star race. That's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, Johnny. Well, a solid 3rd place finish for the 83 driver. We'll see you next week. Good luck at the Roval.
Thanks, guys.
All right, I guess next we're going to talk to who we got in here. Chad Frankenfield, driving the number 15. Chad, race 1, you had the speed, didn't win. Race 2, definitely had the speed, didn't win. Disappointing night, or are you okay with a couple top 10s?
I think if I had some luck and I was finishing where I needed to the first part of the season, I think I would be a little bit more upset, but I haven't had the luck I needed. So having 2 races with big time points, especially with the halfway points, it's a big plus. Race 1, I just couldn't figure out what to do in the long run. I figured it out, but it was too late. Race 2, I felt real good. I know guys were saving, but I don't know if they were going to be able to save enough. And I took 2 tires, so I think I might have been able to make most of that time back. But yeah. I'll take it for sure.
As we head into the Roval next week, Chad, we know that you are quite skilled at road courses, but the Roval is something different entirely. Are you excited about next week or a bit nervous about that one?
Oh, I'm pumped. I love road racing. I think road racing with stock cars is like the best thing in the world. Really, the Roval just comes down to just keeping it clean. If you can keep it clean there, you should be all right. It's different. It's almost like a street course. There's not much runoff in a lot of corners, so you make a mistake. With the extra downforce, I think it'll be a lot easier. So I expect a good race. Obviously, I'd love to win it, but I think again another top 5 would be the goal.
All right. Well, Chad Frankenfield brings home a couple great finishes tonight. Move himself up some more in the standings. We'll see you next week at the Roval. Chad, thanks for talking.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, we're going to talk to next. I think we'll talk to Dylan Hickey next in the number 1 car. Dylan, a great night for you in race number 2 and a 2nd place result. I think that is your best finish of the season. What'd you need to get up there in Matt Grunberg in those closing laps?
Yeah, actually, I think it's my best 3-wide finish ever. So that's awesome. I didn't have anything for Grunberg tonight. I think maybe Chad did. But on the restart, I was just trying to hang with him best I could. And I figured if I could kind of pin him on the inside through 1 and 2, I maybe could, just get the drive off. But he jumped me pretty good, and he just kind of drove off. And from there, for me, it was kind of damage control and trying to keep Johnny behind me.
So I believe, if I'm looking at the points correctly, these are only updated after Dover, but this is going to be your first top 5, actually first top 10 of the season. But we head to the Roval next week, where just finishing that race is often a challenge. What are your expectations for yourself and for everyone else next week at the Roval?
Yeah, I don't fancy myself a road racer really at all, but I've run the Roval a lot and just kind of solo runs and just very few league runs, and I feel very comfortable. So, I want to go out, run top 10, hope for a top 5. There's some great road racers in this league, and I know, Chad's going to be up there. The 77, Drew Eisenman's going to be up there. So it'll be fun for those guys, those ringers who can come out and do that. I'm just, hoping for good points today. The first top 5 this year, it's important. I've kind of, been fighting this new package and not enjoying it too much. So this is good momentum heading into the Roval.
All right. Well, it's going to be a 2nd place finish for Dylan Hickey. Dylan, thanks for talking to us, and good luck next week.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Next, we're going to talk to, let's see what Finian drags up in here next. It'll be the driver, the number 18, Paul Ross, the race 1 winner from the night. Paul, race 1 went quite well. Race 2, a 9th place result. So a pair of top 10s. Satisfied walking out of tonight?
Yeah, I would have been a little happier if I think I short pit Kevin by a couple laps. I did that trying to get around him so I could get 2 top 5s, but then that caution fell and we got trapped, lap down, had to take a wave around, and we fought from I think 16th back up to 9th with tires that had 5-6 laps on them before that run started. So all in all, it was a good night. Pretty cool to get the first win for the Ford Mustang with us just switching over to them.
So I think as of Dover, I know that things have changed a little bit. You probably moved up a little bit since the first race tonight. You were tied for third in the standings. We head to the Charlotte Roval next week. Expectations for the 3OG drivers, and is that going to be the most challenging race of the year, or is there something else coming up on the schedule that's a bit more daunting?
Without looking at the schedule, the Roval is going to be a tough race. There's guys in our league that have ran, 10, 20 races there. There's some guys like myself that have never ran there. As for 3OG, Sam's usually pretty consistent and quick on the road courses. I'm real hit and miss. Not sure how Luis will do. And then if Rusty shows up, who knows with him as well. The Roval, I ran a few laps there in the Global Rallycross car for our Triple Crown series, and it's a tough track to try to navigate. So, throwing a 3,500-pound stock car on it's definitely going to be challenging with, like I said, guys that have ran a bunch of laps there and guys like myself that haven't ran any.
All right, well, Paul Ross comes home tonight with a victory in race 1 and a 9th in race 2. Paul, we'll see you next week at the Roval. Good luck out there.
All right, thanks. Have a good night, you guys.
You too. All right, and last but not least, tonight is going to be the driver, the number 54, Matt Grunberg. We're getting real used to talking to him up here in the booth. Matt, this is your 3rd victory of the Cup Series season. Come in here, get a little bit of luck in race number 2 to help you win that one with that caution mid-sequence. But talk to us about race 1 as well and your climb from 28th to 3rd.
Both races were a lot of fun. The first race was a little more fun and got to pass more cars than I did the second race. The second race wasn't not really how I wanted to win that. I would have liked to see that race go green to the end, or even green-white checkered there at the end. But I guess the cautions were just in my favor. I was really going to try to stretch it to the end there on the second race on fuel. So it would have been really interesting to see how it would have all played out. But I guess that's how it goes sometimes. I'm not going to complain about getting the win or anything, but I would have liked to actually race the guys that I was racing with, like Chad, the whole second race there to the end. But all in all, it was a great run for these guys. Dylan had a great run tonight, and Chad had a great run tonight. It was just a shame the caution came out when it did. But yeah, all in all, it was a fun 2 races. I really enjoyed racing here.
All right, well, a win tonight for Matt Grunberg as we head into the Roval next week. Matt, thanks for talking to us, and we'll see you there.
Yep, sounds good. Thanks.
All right, Finian, that's going to wrap it up for us tonight from Twin Ring Motegi. Some competitive action. Race 2 a bit bloodier than the first one, but all in all, some great action, but some surprise good finishers. Hickey, Hunt, Zielinski got a top 4 after having issues earlier. Darbyshire with a top 10. Wade Lear gets a top 10. Pretty good race, especially race number 2.
Yeah, definitely a lot of cautions in that one compared to the first, but yeah, great racing overall in both these races. Great racing from these guys in general. So, hope to see more of that, especially next week as we're going to go to the Roval. And man, that's going to be an action-packed race.
Well, we saw just on Saturday night the Roval with the Outsider Racing League. We're going to try it with about 10 more cars next week for the 3-Wide RaceKings Cup Series. That's going to do it for us tonight. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow night with the Fuel Cup Series finale from Homestead, Miami at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.